I can be gentle, I can be calm, but no, when I see such nonsense, you will see the other side of me. They couldn't believe. I was just angry that what is the meaning? I still saw you last week and I told you to present. What happened? I don't want to go into the complication with death with. Like this lady was in the hospital for over 2 months because of the complication. Something that if you had presented, if you would need CS immediately, we switch and within 2 days you are back home. But I'm so sorry, your ignorance, I don't want to say foolishness, so I won't sound too harsh. The cost of your ignorance, like the husband spent. The husband, like the wound, everything was just breaking down. We're changing antibiotics, dressing every day. You like, it got to a point I was just always feeling sorry for her. That you actually don't need this. This shouldn't have happened in the first place. This could have been prevented. But no, these are the costs of ignorance. These are the costs of ignorance. These are the things that happen when people are not actually being serious with their heads. When people are actually, like, playing lottery with their life. So, going down to the real cost of ignorance, I'll be talking about 3 things, which I've somewhat mentioned right from the onset of this talk. I'll be talking about the financial cost, emotional cost, and the ultimate cost. So, for the financial cost, treatment becomes expensive when disease is advanced. You can think about the story I just told you about the woman. This woman, had it been she came, she could have had safe vaginal delivery that would have cost her maybe just 50,000 naira. We ended up doing CS to bring out the baby. She paid almost times 10 of that 50,000 naira for that CS. Like over 500,000 for that CS. After the CS, the complication that now sets in, like she spent nothing less than 300,000 naira. So at the end of the day, she spent almost times 20 of what she could have spent if she had presented for normal delivery and she gets proper monitoring until safe delivery. So the financial cost is always, you can imagine, you've gone everywhere, you have abused herbal concoctions until your kidney packs, until your kidney fails. The average cost of dialysis in Nigeria is around 50k per session. This my friend has worked in a renal center before. Per session, some centers you are paying 100k per session, and it is recommended that you have at least 2 to 3 sessions per week. So imagine going to the hospital, you are coughing out 300k on weekly basis for dialysis, and that's not the definitive treatment, that's not the definitive management. For some patients on renal dialysis, they will still need renal transplant. So imagine sustaining your life with 300k on weekly basis. How many of us here can afford that? How many of us, even some professors, we have to go through GoFundMe to raise that kind of money? So there are some things that you should just prevent. You should not even allow to set in, because most of us cannot even afford. We cannot. We don't have the means. We don't have the means. Then, even if you have the money to handle the financial cost, how about the emotional cost? The pain you are going to experience, the suffering you are going to pass through, the family distress. Like your family will have to be coming to the hospital, they will have to be staying with you Some of them will have to put their life on hold. Some of them, they can't go to work, they can't open their shop just because they want to take care of you. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Some people, some relatives will have to be sleeping outside in the cold with no proper place to, to sleep while they are taking care of you. At the end of the day, some of them even get sick taking care of you. They will also need admission. So it's not worth it. Even if you have the money to handle the financial cost, the emotional cost is another thing you want to consider. Then about the third cost, which is the ultimate cost you have to pay, the loss of life, death, because of ignorance, because of your lack of awareness, because of holding tightly to myths, to wrong practices. So these are the costs you will face. So ignorance is not it's not just dangerous. It is expensive, and sometimes it can be fatal. It can cost you your life. So ignorance is not an excuse. In this time and age, you have every tool. You have everything. You have everything you can use. Like, we have information flying around that should take care of your ignorance. So there's no excuse in this time and age at all. There's no excuse. You to whom much is given, much is expected. You are surrounded. Even before you get to consult a doctor, you can read about many things. You can read about many ailments. You know what you do. You know what you should do. Of course, I'm not saying getting enough information on the internet is enough for you to. In fact, most of the time they will tell you, go and see your doctor. With all the things you've read, with all the things you now know, you should still see your doctor. Make sure you consult your doctor. Of course, it's going to be better if you've read about something and you're not going to your doctor. By the time the doctor is explaining to you, you will find it very easy to understand what the doctor is trying to communicate. So ignorance is not an excuse in this time and age. It is not accepted at all. It is not acceptable. So what should we do? What are the solutions? Of course, we've highlighted the problems. We talked about the challenges. But this discussion will not end without we talking about the solutions, the way to arrest this problem. So the first solution I will offer is seeking medical help early. Don't wait until your symptoms worsen. Seek help. Seek help on time. Go to the hospital. And like I mentioned earlier on, this is not just about you. This is not just about you. Your parents have made investment, into sending you to school. So coming back now, you should do better. Even if they are still holding on to wrong practices, you should be able to correct them. You should be able to correct them. You should know where they shouldn't go to. You shouldn't allow them to go to mushroom hospitals. You shouldn't allow them to patronize quacks. No. If that is happening in your family setting, then shame on you. I'm sorry to say. Oh, I'm not sorry to say. So it is not acceptable at all. Then I advise against self-medication. Avoid it. Avoid it. Always consult a professional. There's no way you want to fly out of Nigeria today now, and if they tell you that, oh, this pilot, the pilot that should actually fly this plane is sick, but this pilot, he went to one school, but he didn't finish, or he's trying. I am telling you that, oh, this pilot, is not the real pilot that should fly this plane. The real pilot is sick, but this one, we using like, no, we are not sure of its certification. We cannot guarantee the safety of this flight. How many of us will enter that plane? No. So why should we have so much trust in quacks? Why should we surrender our precious life to quacks to be mismanaged, to be terribly handled? No, it is wrong. Then you get regular checkups. Don't wait until you start falling sick. Don't wait until you are seeing some signs in your body, some symptoms. If you are here, if you are listening to me over the internet, if you already know your parents, they have some chronic ailments, they are hypertensive, they are diabetic, you should know some precautions to take. You are not the type that should be eating just anything. You are not the type that should be consuming salts anyhow when you are not Lord's wife. So you are not the type that should be joking with your head. The moment you know what is running in your family, so you should take precaution. You should, if hypertension is, your parents are hypertensive, come to the hospital. Just come and check your BP. Or maybe you are lucky to participate in a community outreach when they are checking BP. Let them check your BP. Hypertension is a silent killer. Don't wait until it takes your life away suddenly. If they are checking BP, tell them, nurse, please, I want to check my BP. You are not too young. Young people are dying to hypertension. So it's not the disease of the old. It's not just the disease of the elderly. So you are not too young to start knowing your numbers, start knowing your BP. You are not too young to know your random blood sugar. If your parents are diabetic, you should check your random blood sugar. It's not until everything just gets so bad. You should willingly screen yourself. Screen for hepatitis. Screen for HIV. If you detect these things early, you get comments on medications that will take care of you. And ask questions. Ask questions. Don't keep things to yourself. Don't believe you know it all. Don't think, I'll be alright. Don't have that mindset of, it will go. Like, it will just disappear. No. Ask questions. Some of you are lucky you have medical practitioners as friends. You have medical practitioners as friends. You can easily ask them questions. You can easily consult them. The internet is your friend. Google is your friend. You can Google. You can ask questions. You can search these things up on the internet. Don't just assume. Don't just guess. Like you have a swelling in a particular part of your body, go to the hospital. Get yourself examined. Get yourself tested. Let them know what you are dealing with, so you can know what to do. And for some conditions, you may not even have to swallow drug. You don't have to be like it. They may just advise you on lifestyle modifications. That if you are the type that has been consuming alcohol like anyhow, maybe you just reduce it. You are the type that you can smoke anything. You can smoke gutter. You can smoke anything. They can advise you, like not necessarily, consuming drugs. So these are the things you can. And another thing is you should educate others. Like I mentioned earlier, you should educate others. Share correct information. It should not be heard that your sister is going to a traditional birth attendant to manage her labor. With your level of education, it's going to be a slap on your face. It should not be heard that you lost your sister to a prolonged labor. It should not be heard. It should not be heard of you as a man here that The doctor is advising you that, oh, this your wife might need cesarean section, and you are saying no. No, it should not be heard of you with your with the investment they've made on you as regards education, and you are standing on your feet that no, my wife must not have CS. It's a curse. We don't do that in our family. They don't do CS in our family. This is a strange omen. All of the ladies in our family, they deliver safely. No, that is not acceptable at all. So, as I'll be rounding up, I want you to know that your health is your greatest asset. Not your money, not the houses you built, not the lands you've acquired, not the cars you have. The moment you drop down dead, some other people take ownership of all those your properties, of all the things you're placing premium on over your head. Like, they will not even mourn you for a whole day before they start fighting over your properties. Like, they will immediately they hear what's the law. Some people will start running to take some keys, to get access to some accounts, to make sure some people don't have access to your phone. Like, they will not even mourn you. That's like, and it will be too late for you to know that no, your properties are not your greatest asset, but your health. So you have to also ensure that you don't wait until it is damaged before you value it. Don't wait until your health is damaged until you value it. Like I mentioned, it would have been too late when it gets to that stage. Like, it will be too late because you'll be long gone already. Seek help early. I cannot overemphasize this. Seek help early. No symptom is too small. No symptom is too insignificant. No symptom is too irrelevant. Seek help early. Avoid dangerous shortcuts because they will cost you more in the long run. You will pay more. The money you didn't want to pay initially, you will cough it out. You will sell your land, that house, you will sell it, your car, you will sell it. So, no time. So, don't pass through shortcuts. This is your life we are talking about. This is your life we are talking about. There are so many things about your life you don't even. If you want, some of us, if you want to buy land, you know how you consult lawyers. Oh, I want this paper. Let me do this paper. You don't take shortcuts. You don't just take one agent. You want to verify if this agent is not there to dupe you, to scam you. But when it comes to your head, someone is now telling you that I get one baba for one corner, we do am for me. I get one baba, we that doctor. They will even be telling you that those doctors don't know what they are doing. They give you enough reference that, oh, that lady, she had fracture. They took her to the hospital. The bone did not heal for months. But that baba is a bone straighter. Like, he's a bone setter. He go set am for you. You are playing Ludo with your life until they amputate you, until they amputate your leg, and you can't even afford prosthetics. Like, what is you that you've been running around? You can go anywhere. You're not waiting for people to carry you to the toilet. Like, you will hate yourself. You will hate yourself. It will get to a point you don't have any choice than to just end it all up. Because, like, you will just, I don't know. I don't want to imagine the level of depression you will fall into. So, some things are actually prevented. They are better prevented than cured. So, don't even just give wrong. So, like, prioritize your health. Know the places you visit. It's not every hospital you should even branded hospitals. You should know. It's not until you seek, you should know in your environment, in your community, you should know a place you can run to in case of emergency. You should know a safe hospital that you can afford, that you can run to in case of emergency. Don't wait until there's emergency and you are running next car. Where should we go? You are just going to the first place you can get when you know that they cannot offer any help. Some hospitals, I'm sorry to say, are just there for your money. So it's not until you die, it's not until you are sick or you have some emergency conditions that you look at what happened the other time. I'm sorry to make reference to this lady's case that had snake bites, and can imagine someone coming on, a reputable TV channel saying, why was the doctor giving fluid, normal saline, for a patient that has snake bite? Was he treating malaria? You can imagine. They even know better than the doctors. They know better. If they are telling you, don't tie it, run to the hospital, they say it's a lie. They don't know what they are doing. They don't know what they are doing. So that was the reason I asked the question earlier, that how many of us here actually even knows the right thing? Are we consuming the right information, or we just take anything anybody tells us? Like when it comes to the issue of your health, can you tell them? I've heard of cases where some husband will maintain their stance that no, my wife will not have CS, she will deliver, and the wife will stay there, she won't say nada, she won't say anything until she packs, until she dies with the baby. The husband will now calm down, will now be gentle. That's it. Who is going to? There's no worry for the dead. There's no fight for the. Most of the time, the dead is to be blamed, because who is going to speak for the dead? So, when it comes to the issues of your health, the ladies here today, if you are married tomorrow and you have to make decision about your health, do you have a say? Do you even know the right thing to stand on, or you just be there? Lying down in ignorance, nǹkan tó bá ti sọ náà ni. Something that the moment you go like this, the person will go replace you, don't dey outside. Your replacement is already at the door. Just go like this. They will pack in everything you don't work for. Then go take am. Then go consume am. So you cannot joke with your life. You cannot joke with your health. It's your greatest asset. You cannot be taking shortcuts with your life. So, finally, as I hand over to the next speaker, don't let ignorance cut short your life. Don't pay the ultimate cost of ignorance, which is death. And now you know better. Go and spread the gospel. You shouldn't be in a family and they are mismanaging your family members, your loved ones. Your loved ones are admitted in the hospital. You don't even know what they are doing for them. You don't know the tests they've done. You don't know what. You should ask questions. That was what I said earlier. You are going to visit your loved one in the hospital. They are just giving fluid. You can't ask, okay, doctor, what are we dealing with here? What are we managing here? They shouldn't just be telling you that, we're okay. No. What are we doing? Do you know what you are doing? Do you know what you are doing? Like, what's the diagnosis? If you hear about the diagnosis, just put it in ChatGPT. Read about it. Okay, doctor, have we done this? Have we done that? Have we done this test? Are we giving this drug? Why are we giving these drugs? So, ignorance in this time and age is not an excuse. You have everything. You have every tool to use. You have you have access to information. So you can't excuse your ignorance for anything. It's just going to be pure laziness. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate as I hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a big privilege to be here once again. It's been a long one. Let me also be like our sister that spoke. You know, she spoke 2 hours. Now, me too, I broke my own record. The idea wasn't part of the plan, but circumstances just permitted it, and God helped us. It is well. Okay. So, in the last speech I had, I spoke about disruption. The three different phases of disruption, and I also spoke about structure. Of course, my speech on structure, and then the definition of how that structure, where the structure will be placed in terms of how your life is being lived or being defined. I just mentioned it, and I tried to go through it, to a particular extent. But now I want to really delve into it, and I'll be talking on the topic becoming by design. How identity, structure, and discipline shapes your reality. And so far, since I've been talking, I've been making reference to the book of beginnings and how that particular book has shaped my understanding about our existence, how that book has shaped how I see life as not just something I just live, but by the fact that even working towards my goal, building a good business, or ensuring that whatsoever I want to achieve is achieved, is actually part of God's design. It's not just a motivational talk. No, it's actually part of what I was meant and created to do. It's part of what I'm going to report finally to Him. Now, you see, there's a quiet frustration that people face and that many people carry. And what's it? Many of them don't say it out. They don't say it out loud. They just have it within. And it's the feeling that they are doing so much. They are doing a lot of things. A lot of things. You ask a person, especially in our line of work as a doctor, because I'm very familiar with the medical profession. You see a doctor cutting about 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs, working practically 24 hours a day, every day. Well, I'm saying this because I've actually done it before, and I know people that do it on a regular basis, and you do this consistently. And then at the end of the day, you not ask yourself, what are you becoming? I've met some doctors like me. I'm quite very young in the profession. I've met my senior colleagues that are not specialists, and then you look at them. You ask them. You just sometimes when I look, I interact with them. I'm like, what exactly are you becoming? You are engaged in so much activity. So you are doing so many things. Your whole schedule is choked up. By the end of the day, what are you becoming? And if you think this question is ridiculous, wait until you see a 50 or 60-year-old man that tells you he has worked practically 8 to 9, 10 hours of his life every day, and yet cannot account for a moment of purposeful living. He cannot tell you that so far, over these long years, I was here before and now I'm here. In the public sector now, you see our people that work for long hours. They go to the office every day, counting attendance. The dean was talked about people that mark attendance in the office, and yet you can't account for their performance in the workplace. And this happens consistently every day. So it's not that you are not busy. You are busy. You are working, but you are not becoming. You wake up early. You set goals. The new year comes. You make resolutions. You try again. You push harder. Sometimes you even have ambitions, and you are working towards those ambitions. And you do it. You try to take those steps. But yet, you find out that at the end of the day, you're really not becoming anything. Something feels off. And it's not that you are lazy, as I've said. It's not that you don't have talent. It's not that you don't have potential. But deep down, you know that this is not where I'm supposed to be. And the truth is that most of the results you chase will not come, no matter how you work. I think I made an illustration of the fact that me and my friends, while in school, in 100 level, they will read for far longer hours. We'll go together to read, and at the end of the day, I practically sleep throughout the whole session of reading, and they'll just read for me like 1 hour, 1 hour 30 minutes, and then they read throughout the night. And at the end of the day, have better results. So, does efforts really translate to results like that? I mean, you could ask yourself that question: does it really translate? Now, the thing is, you don't actually get the results of what you work for, but you get the results of what you are becoming, and that's the truth. Who you are defines what you get. You hear this very common saying that you attract who you are, and that saying comes from a point of knowing that your results only come by virtue of who you have become. And this is truth. No matter the efforts you put in, you can't compensate it with a faulty foundation. No matter how this is truth. Now, what I want to say is truth, and it's one of the reasons why the rich will always get richer, and the poor will keep getting poorer. Not because it's not possible to translate from one hierarchy to the other, but because you almost can't compare with the kind of foundation they have. Yes, I'm not talking about money, no. The money, of course, makes it easier. I've talked about, so when I talked about disruption, I mentioned the 3 phases. I mentioned lack of structure, which is formlessness. I mentioned emptiness, which is lack of content. And I mentioned darkness, which is lack of knowledge. Now, in these 3 aspects of disruption, your foundation, it's formed by how well you handle that disruption. So you take, for example, someone that has the resources. Now, for this person, lack of content, we can say that content as resources, it's not really a problem. So that aspect of disruption is not there. So all he just has to deal with, first of all, is knowledge. Now he gets the knowledge, builds on that knowledge, when I mean knowledge, real applicable knowledge, and not just the regular school we all go to. And then at the end of the day, before the age of 25, you see him doing very, very well, of course, with support and everything. And then you find another regular person here, don't have that kind of support, don't have that kind of foundation. And then that same person is chasing the same results, watching that person online on social media, and then and then of course he puts in the effort, but he doesn't realize that it's not just by working. It's not just by the efforts. Yes, you are working, very good. You're hard working, beautiful, amazing. You are doing the same thing, good. But you can't compare your foundation with him. And so that brings us to the point that you bring us to the knowledge that, first of all, to get those results, don't chase the actual results themselves. No. Find out the process of that becoming. Find out the knowledge gotten. I'm really grateful for one particular person I watch. I'm a data analyst and I also do programming. So I listened to him and he was giving an outline of the pathway to become an AI engineer from scratch. And if you watch YouTube shorts, it's very, very careful with YouTube shorts. If you watch YouTube shorts and they should break it down for you, it will seem as if you can get it in 1 month. When I watched this guy's video and he spoke, I think he outlined about 5 steps. Each of the steps were very detailed. And when I tried, because I'm also on the pathway, and then I looked at myself, I just asked myself, okay, where are you? I just discovered that I was just out of 5 steps, and I've been on these steps since January, and this is the 4th month, and I'm still on the 1st step. So you see that, you see them online, you're making lots of money, and it's very attractive. The results are very, very juicy. But if you see the process, just the 1st step, learning Python. And of course, Python is very broad, a lot of things. So you still have to really break it down. So to get those results that look very juicy, that look very attractive, that feels like, oh no, you could get it. And it's very, very, because of the advent of social media, you have there's this illusion that as long as, since they've done it, like, yes, of course, since they don't, you can do it, but can you do what they've done? Can you pay for those courses? Can you give that attention? Sometimes to program, let's even leave to program. Sometimes to just think about how you will translate an idea you have to code. Now, of course, ChatGPT has made it much easier. But I think I mentioned it last time that I tried something. In fact, this one there was an error I was trying to debug, and then I put it on ChatGPT. ChatGPT gave me the answer, and then wrote a code for me. When I saw the code, of course, I saw the corrections which I accepted, but the full code was wrong. And of course, when I put it on the Python, I got an error. So it's not just about, yes, AI is there, but still, that process, you can't fake it. That's why there will always be a difference between those that truly become, and those that don't see results. As I said, effort cannot compensate for a faulty foundation. Many people are busy, but they are not built. They are moving, but they are not becoming. Many lives are full of activity, but they lack alignment. Now, see something. Imagine a seed. Now, I've made this reference, and I've used the illustration of grass, herbs, and trees. And this illustration is always something that comes to mind when you talk of becoming. Because it's a principle that has been put out there in life for us to take reference from. You don't need to motivate the seed to grow. Have you thought about it? You can do it. You begin to tell you can do it. You can do it. No, I said you can do it. They don't need that. They don't. You don't need to. See, no matter how many people. In fact, you really watch successful people. You really watch them, and you look at the books. They read books. But you see, most of the books they read are not books that encourage them to take action, really. And you ask yourself why. No, the people that read books, that will push them to do what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to do something, but they are looking for, that very, very fiery speaker that will ginger them. I think that's the word. To take that effort and take that action. A seed doesn't need that. All a seed needs to grow is soil, water, good land, light. That's all. As long as that structure is there, then growth is inevitable. It's the same thing. See, to get successful in life, it's all a matter of principle. It's not a matter of how motivated you are. You could be so motivated and not do anything. You will feel so hyped and not take a step. So rather than focus on just motivation, why not just build a structure? I just talked about, one of my New Year resolutions, because last year, by December last year, I was just a regular data analyst. I knew Excel, I knew, Power BI, I knew, which other one again? Regular data analysis software, I knew SPSS, and I was already analyzing data, I do research work and everything. So I made up my mind that this year I was going to take a step into data science, learn more about Python, try to learn more about machine learning, how AI is being built and everything. And I was not the only one that took that step, that made that decision from January till now. Now it's just a matter of 4 months. Now when I look at that process, that's just that process. When I think about it and I look at how far I've come, sincerely, I can't but just appreciate the fact that nothing beats structure. Nothing beats structure. I've tried learning Python before, and I couldn't just continue. But once there's structure, growth just happens. Results just come naturally. So as I said, you don't force a tree. You don't force a seed to grow into a tree overnight. No. All you need to do is provide the right requirements, and then growth happens. So the same thing in your life. Same thing. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more encouragement. You don't need me to stand here and start, pushing you to do what you're supposed to do. No. Design structures. Design this platform. I mentioned something for those that were not here. I mentioned something about this particular platform we are in. That's the amount of gold you are mining by just standing here to speak is so immense, you can't comprehend it now. Now, just take a scenario. Our sister here spoke for 2 hours, right? If you divide 2 hours by 10 minutes, in a 1 hour video, you get 10 minutes, right? In a 2 hour video, you get how many? You get 10 minutes. Now imagine after that speech, she downloads the video online, cuts it out, edits the video into 10 minutes, proper editing, and then decides to post one video per day. That's how many days? Now she has spoken how many times? Now 12 times 12 is what? If you post every day, how many days have you posted for? 144 days. Now this is an assumption, right? But if you post 144 days, let me ask you, with the algorithm favor you, are you not building a career with that? See, just simple logic. Gold mines. And many of us have spoken far more than 12 times. Let me ask you, have you downloaded your videos? And if you are not careful, really, see, if you are not careful, we'll finish the 20 days and we'll continue with the way we were before. Silently. And you would have forgotten that you have a gold mine. You are yet to mine. And then we'll be waiting for them to release the recordings. See, growth is not just, it's not motivation, structure. Please, sincerely, I'll counsel every speaker online, download your speech, cut it yourself. If you cannot cut it, come and meet me, I'll cut it for you. And then go further, don't just cut it. Because when you cut it, of course, you can post it, but if you are to represent the 2-hour speech you did or the 4-hour speech you did, can you do it? Okay, let me not say exactly, but following the same framework you did. Because most of the things, when you come up to speak, it just comes at the moment. It just spur of the moment. So, if you take those videos, this is what I did. I've done it. I took a video that was spoken here. I transcribed it through AI, got the full text, and then I told ChatGPT, let me tell you the prompts, so you don't have to think about it. It took me a while to get it. I told ChatGPT, using the tone, because I sent the transcript to ChatGPT, so there was a tone the user used, right? So I said, using the tone of this speaker, give me a summarized speech outlined into subheadings that I can reuse for another speech. Now, you see the advantage of that prompts is that whatever ChatGPT will give you will not sound like AI, but will sound like the transcripts of that one that you have put in. And with that, you are going to get structured, your own speech more structured. So if you are going to give that speech another time, probably at that point you came up with a lot of things. By the time you are reading it, you find those aspects, and you're like, wow. And then you start working on it. Structure. So, this is a lot of, no. See, every one of us, including me, I'm saying this out because this is part of, like, something I want, I want to, like, put myself on the spot. That after this moment, we should not struggle with a career in public speaking anymore. Even if you don't have a certificate, of course you are going to get a certificate, but even if the certificate is not there, because you have evidence, you have the skill, you have the videos, you have the opportunities. All you just need to do is utilize it. So, now if you look at the book of beginnings that I've taken reference from, God, if you look at the way the creation happened, you really look at it. After the old darkness, void, formlessness, everything, then God said, let there be light, right? And there was light. Now he didn't stop there. He said, and he called the light day. He called the darkness night. And then the evening and the morning were the first day. See that sequence? Now, I'll break it down for you. We see an aspect there, the calling. God called something. We are going to translate that to organizing, you say we named it. I'm going to talk about naming as a concept in becoming. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about structure in building discipline. These are things I'll still talk about later. But I'm just giving you that insight that this point I'm drawing, I'm not just figuring it out. No. It's all, if you're a Christian, you read the Bible every day, it's there. If you probably listen online, it's there. Everywhere. But these are truths that translates to how our life can be properly organized, so that we don't just leave things to chance and expect that somebody will just sponsor you. Somebody will just watch your video by mistake. When I checked our viewers on YouTube, one day I just saw one. I saw two. I saw three. I mean, live with the live video. Of course, it will go to you. Some other people have watched it over time, but sometimes. So, if you are going to be relying on somebody to endorse you, just see you speaking and just say, let me sponsor this person. No. But you still have to take advantage of this opportunity only by building a good structure. Now, talking about identity, if your identity is unclear, your results will not be consistent. Because when you talk about becoming has a lot of things, or has a lot to do with your identity. Who are you? Or who do you think you are? Let me use that word. Who do you think you are? What are the things you believe in? And I mean believe in, I'm talking about concepts. I'm talking about the kind of attributes you give yourself. We'll still talk about it more. These are just, introducing some concepts. Now notice, if your structure is weak, growth will collapse. If your discipline is absent, your potential will remain trapped. Many people are trying to produce fruits without actually becoming a tree. So many people want to get results without going through the process. They want to achieve success without building. Now, see something. Let me give you the scenario of this speech. Many people think that they've done the hard work by coming to this place to speak. They think they've done the hard work by coming here to present, to stay overnight and give long speeches. But I tell you, that's just one of the process. I already told you, give you a hint of how you can go about it. So, that structure, it's not just one thing. It's not just, I've done this thing and then you feel good about it. No. Until that thing you have done has translated to a result, you don't stop. You keep building that structure. How do I turn this into something valuable? This is fruit. How do I multiply it? And the cycle continues. Many people, they will do the same thing over and over again, struggle, and yet they will get the same results. But rather than chasing those results, what if you engineered the person who produced them, which is yourself? What if you challenged yourself? Now, let me give a scenario. So I was just asking myself this question. When I came up with this, when that thing just flashed in my mind, let me just tell you, because I was like, I really didn't think about this. This is not like I've been thinking about this since the beginning of no. Because I had the idea before, but it wasn't something that I was going to translate anytime soon. So last weekend, Dean was talking with me and one other person. And then he just said something. He said, Patitomi has spoken. He just said it on the fly. He just said, I wish somebody could have just done a summary. That's actually where I got the idea from. Not that I sincerely, not that I just sat down. No. He just mentioned, he said, I wish somebody could have done a summary of it. And then I just thought about the summary. And I transcribe. I do voice to text, video to text and all. So when I just heard the word summary, that thing just came. I was like, wait a minute, this thing is easy. Like I went back that same day. I downloaded for free speech. That's when I did the first. I was like, how come I never thought of this? How come this thing never be? Well, I mean, why is it just now I'm thinking about it? And so because of that, I said no, I'm going to do every other thing. So what if you stop asking, how do I succeed? And start asking, what exactly is hindering me? What aspects of becoming am I missing?
Because you discover that some people are not even putting up to the effort you are, and yet are getting far better results. Some people are not doing up to what you are doing, but yet they have far better results. It's not because they have two heads. It's not because they are more opportune. No, they just have better structure. The reason why successful businesses are where they are is because they have better structure. The reason why this program is still ongoing, even though Dean is not sitting down yet, is because of structure. So paying attention to structure, see, structure is usually being defined as the aspect of sustainability in business. I mean, if you want to scale, one of the things they will tell you that one of the key ingredients in scaling a business is good systems and structure. But I tell you, rather than apart from just scaling a business, if you want to take your life to the next level, you need to build systems and structures for your life to live by. Now, I want to welcome you to a different way of thinking. Not just thinking in terms of what to do, but in terms of not just thinking in terms of your efforts, but to think in terms of systems, structures that can lead to your destination. So when you have a goal next time, don't just think about all the things you will do. No, think about the structure, how everything will translate. See, really do the work and start from the beginning, and don't stop thinking about it until you can actually draw a pathway to the end. So that when you start the journey, you are sure that once you follow that structure, results just happen. Not just doing the efforts and just taking the step and just doing it. No. Now, I'll talk about some aspects. The first subject I'll talk about is identity. Now, this is where it goes. Identity before activity. You cannot live beyond what you are named. Now, look at this. Now I talk about naming. This is how it's coming to that. You know that before anything can be formed, or before anything was formed at the beginning, at the point of let there be life, the next thing God did was to name it and call it. The night, the darkness that was not there, God ascribed the light to it. Now, if you look at it this way, you discover that creation did not just happen around us. God did not just create, and just okay, creation. No. It defines and you discover the purpose of light. That part was that word, day, actually properly defines what we now know as light. Define this word. Because as I said earlier on in my previous speech, I said the first day of creation was actually not the creation of light. Because after the creation of light, God named the light, separated the light from the darkness. That's let there be light. That's not where the creation stops. No. After let there be light, then separation from light from darkness, then naming of light as day, naming of darkness as night, and then the evening and the morning was born. Being constructed. And it's on that structure that every other creation now fits into. That's why you have the next part. After the second day, you see the evening and the morning was the second day. After the third day, you see the evening. So God first of all created the structure. He was going to put all of creation first, time, and then started started picking the individual aspects and depositing it one by one. And one of the aspects of structure, you look at that structure, the creation of the structure. After let there be light and there was light. The next thing is to name identity. So see, many of us try to do things before we define them. You try to perform before you understand. You see, when I like making reference, sorry we cannot really relate, but I like making reference to my programming journey. You see, when I was going to take that first step into learning coding and everything, I just had to take the pains. Because sincerely, it wasn't really making sense. It wasn't really making so much sense. So I just, encouraged myself and took the pains to actually read some of these things. To read about what they do. You hear about AI automation, you hear about AI design, I just took that little time to read about it. And you see that single decision to read about those things and to actually understand what they do. Just translated to a whole different concept aside from what I watched online. I began to see these things as not just something, because if you go online and you watch these things, the way they portray it as just a platform for you to make easy money, fast money. There's no AI, within 3 to 6 months, get your first job. That's the way it's being portrayed. But more than that, you discover that even in your own personal life, there are some things you can totally remove. You can, now I just described to you how you can, ensure that your speeches, don't just stay here and just die here, but you can translate to something meaningful later. Now, after you have done the translation, imagine you already have those videos. You put them online. Now, these are videos that can run for up to, if you really do it very well, all your speeches here, minimum, even if you spoke just 4 times, you could at least, if you do it very well, you could have videos running for up to 1, 2, or 3 months. You could do it very well, consistently. Now, within that 3 months of time of you posting, after that 3 months, there's nothing else again now. So within that 3 months, why not within that 3 months of posting, develop the structure for continuous posting? You already built the skill. You can't deny it. You're already a public speaker. Whether you have a certificate or not, it's there. So why not work on it? Why not just do, even if you can't afford the studios and everything, probably you just saved up and you can only do 1 speech per month. You do 1 speech per month for 3 months, that's 3 speeches. Imagine you spoke for 1 hour for each of those speeches. So you already have the algorithm in your favor. Now one thing about algorithm is that once you already have it working in your favor, as long as you are consistent, you may not really you're not doing it every day like that, but at least 2-3 videos a week, maybe 1 or 2 comments, personal comments and everything. And with that, you are building. And then of course, I talked about editing, talked about, the cutting and everything. Probably initially you did it yourself. But now we're talking about structure. You can't keep doing it yourself. Because one aspect of structure is separation. If I take you back to creation, you see that God separated the light from the darkness. That word, separation, separated the light from the darkness. Separated waters above from waters below. Separation. So you need to figure out the way to separate yourself from that process, so that you can actually do the things that matter. One of the reasons why AI is taking the place in a lot of industries is because the work that many people are doing is not actually their work, because they will keep doing the same thing over years. Why would AI replace them? AI can do it far better than you, far more efficiently than you. Your actual work is innovation, creation. So your actual work in this whole process of public speaking is not cutting the videos. AI can do it. Yes, of course, initially you may not know how to do it, but that's where learning comes in. Learn how to do it with AI. If you can't figure out AI, learn how to leverage other people's skills. And then with that, you are building structure. With that, you are building a system of operation. And then you have time to focus on what to say. Because you've used AI to generate your transcripts. The transcript, you already have a structured way of, probably you did about 12 speeches. And then for each of those speeches, you have 12 transcripts. You can decide to, see what people say about public speaking. You can only speak on one topic, alone. Just that one topic. And you will not go out of business. Yes, you will go out of business, just that one topic. All you need to do is say that one topic in 10 different ways and rinse and repeat. Because by the time you get to the 10th one, you have forgotten the first one. And then you go back to the first one. It's as easy as that. And with that, because you'll be reaching a lot of people. And many people now have probably they had you the first time when you spoke, when you gave the speech, maybe in the 3rd or 4th illustration. By the time you go back to the first one, they see it as a new thing. And with that, you are building. With that, you are doing things. Structure. Identity. Now see, a lion doesn't try to act like a lion. Now you see, as I said, if I was not
if I had not done transcription before, if I had not learned how to translate video to text or audio to text, the moment I had the newborn talk about summarizing a speech, the first thing that would have come to my mind is, somebody will now sit down, watch the video, and then begin to type. It's too stressful. The reason why it will come like that, and the reason why you may not take action is just simply because you are not that type of person. It's not that you cannot think of it. If somebody sit down and explain to you, you'll be like, this is something I can figure out myself. But the truth is, you will never figure it out. Not because you don't have the ability to, but just because you are not that kind of person. A lion doesn't form courage. A lion doesn't tell himself, today I will be bold. No. It's just nature. And it comes from identity. A lion knows his worth. He knows what he is. He knows what he has. And he carries himself that way. An eagle knows what it is. And of course, if you look at the process of these creatures becoming what they become, if you look at what they go through in their training periods, if you watch documentaries, Nat Wild and Co., you will see how a lion trains, how they hunt. You see how an eagle trains to fly. Have you ever heard of the process of an eaglet being trained out to fly? Have you ever heard of it? Let me tell you. First of all, before they even give birth to the eaglets, the female eagle, before the female will shoot her mate, she will test the mate and see if the mate is capable of training the children. How? The female will throw, they live on mountains. Eagles live on mountains. So you will throw probably a stone down from the nest, and then the male eagle will swoop down to catch that stone before it lands on the ground. If the male eagle feels in that, then it can't be a mate. And you do that repeatedly, not just once, repeatedly, to be sure that this male eagle can actually catch that stone before it falls. Now, finally, when they have their eaglets, the female eagle, at some point, once their wings are grown, we will not tell the eaglets that today we are going to learn how to fly. Prepare your mind. No, there's nothing like preparation. We just threw the eaglets down from a tall mountain, and then expect that same male eagle to catch that eaglet. Now imagine, just imagine yourself. I'm just trying to imagine this process of learning. This is what we call, there's this way they call it. There's this way of learning. There's conditioning, and then there's the way that they just, throw it at you and expect you to figure it out. That's where animals learn. So they throw the eaglet down, and then the male has to catch that eaglet. And of course, the eaglet doesn't know that the male is going to catch it. It's not aware. So the eaglet is struggling. How do I fly? He has to figure it out on his own. And then all of a sudden the wings come out. He may still struggle, and then all of a sudden the male swoops in to catch it. And then at another time, it happens repeatedly until that eagle knows how to fly. You see, that process of learning is building identity. Because in that process, the eaglet actually learns to know that it has wings. That same eagle, if that same eagle is trained by a hen, you should be aware it has wings, but you only know that these wings are just for preparation, just to show, just open it up and like that. But that training process helps that eaglet to understand that I am an eagle. I have wings. Just by opening up the wings, eagles, if there is wind, they don't have to flap their wings to fly. Because their wings are structured in such a way that if you carry them with the wings, that's soaring. That identity. So, when people try to act confident, you see, if you were trying to act confident before, I saw there were some people that I noticed, at that initial point when we were doing the practices, when they come on, even me, I was even part of them. You come on stage and you want to have confidence, they lie, I'm not confident. Forget it, it's just forming. We were just forming. We were forming during the training, everybody was forming, including me. But yeah, I don't know. You don't even know when you just keep on. Just keep on. That's building. That's the process. That's your identity being built.
Now you can call yourself a public speaker. Confident. So if you translate this to life, you discover that identity is built by processes. It is built by deliberate training. It is built by putting yourself inside that situation. Because you can't just call yourself. See, when we graduated as medical doctors and we entered and they were inducting us, there was nobody. They tell us, they tell us, say you're a doctor. They try to impute, say you're a doctor. Even though we know that they put us inside hospital, we just don't theory. We are a doctor, okay? Go out. The actual point to become a doctor is after internship. Yeah. Yes, you have the knowledge. You have all the knowledge, you read everything. You know all the theory. But even the best medical students is not as good as the doctor that has done internship. I can say it like anywhere. Except maybe that doctor already has clinical experience outside. But I mean, you went through school, you traditionally, like someone like me now, that just, until you go through that internship, whereby in 1 year, if you know what to go through internship, I mean, you just, maybe one of your close friends that is a doctor, let him just sit you down and tell you what he went through in internship. How he went from pediatric postings, whereby you don't have a life. You are waking up inside the ward, and when you are dealing with babies, you are. And then you do that for a whole year. Consistent. I mentioned in one of my speeches, I said medicine, one of the reasons why doctors are doctors is because they build, it's not by brilliance or intelligence, no. It is by being dogged, ability to stay there and do the same things over and over again. That's process. That's building identity. Now after that internship, I don't need to even mention, I don't need to say I am doctor, no. When you tell me a symptom, I can already tell you, okay, do this. Because that identity is there. But you see, if you just launch into that thing without building that identity, you will just walk. You will walk and you will just be asking yourself why it's not working. Of course it won't work. It won't. It won't. So you don't live from what you say. So rather than just now, you see, that process of them telling us after medical school that we are doctors. Yes, we've gone through that training, the theoretical training, and then we have been told that we are doctors. You see what they were doing? We were enforcing belief that don't be scared about the fact that you cannot yet prescribe a medication. You already have the foundation. All you just need is application. And that's why you are going for internship. If there are some interns that don't do well. They don't do well. They struggle through internship. That's why you find some doctors, they were Pastor hospitals, they were comparing me to another doctor. They were like, when I came, they brought like 3 cannulas. Brought like a lot of. So by the time I got the line the first time, they were surprised. They were surprised. And I know that in my own center, I'm not even close to the people that are setting lines for real. You see people that will set neonatal line. When I mean neonatal line, newborn babies, they will set the line. See, I know of course I can say neonatal line, but I know the effort it will take me. So in a place, just because, that process has been built, even though we went through the same process, if belief is lacking, despite the fact that you are going through that process, you will not actually get the result you want. If belief is lacking, you will do that same thing and it won't translate into the result you want. If belief is lacking, you see, there is this story I had about a surgeon that didn't go through medical school, through the conventional medical school. All the surgeon did was intern with another surgeon, intern over a lot of years. They were already calling the guy doctor. Of course, nobody knew the guy never went to medical school, but they were just calling him doctor. And then because of, that identity that was built, of course, they believed he was a doctor. And then learned the skills and was already performing surgery. Of course, he had someone to guide him, he had an actual surgeon to guide him. So you see that even though he didn't go through the conventional medical school, he still went through a form of training. But I'm just trying to emphasize the point that while going through that process, the place of belief should not be ignored. You see, the process of translating all this into actual value after we are done with this challenge requires belief. Let me ask you a question. If you've never edited a video before, raise your hand. Never edited a video by yourself before, raise your hand. Can you imagine? What am I even saying? So everybody has been edited videos at some point. Can you imagine? Oh, you've never edited a video? Like never. Can you see? So please, belief is really important. Like the fact that you can translate. So it's not that you don't have the skills. It's not that it's not there. No. Even if you don't know how to edit videos, it's very simple. Go and watch on YouTube. Ask ChatGPT. So, but if you are going through that process without that belief, you just scale, you just roll with the wind, and whatever goes. Trying to succeed without becoming the kind of person success requires just leads to a wasted effort. Just put that effort. If you don't take that time to build that identity, then so the real question that you should be asking yourself is not what should I be doing now? No. The real question is who should I be becoming right now? Or who have I become? Because when you ask yourself who have I become, then you know where you are. You can answer yourself, okay, so who do I want to become? You know where you are first. You now define the destination. So if you see yourself as limited, you react accordingly. If you see yourself as incapable, your decisions will reflect it. If you see yourself as, as having average results, then of course you will never rise above that average. Now I've talked about identity. Now let me talk about another aspect. It's still identity anyway, but this time around, you have to talk about identity in your processes. Right? Now talk about identity in terms of what you ascribe names to, or the kind of names you ascribe to what you do. I talked about the three aspects of destruction in my previous speech. I mentioned that destruction can appear or can come in form of lack of structure, which is formlessness. It can come in form of lack of content, which is emptiness. It can come in terms of ignorance, obscurity, which is darkness. Those are the three ways I described it. Now, on a very regular note, we are going through a particular challenge. Have you taken time one day to just ascribe a name to that challenge? Just try to define that challenge. So there are two ways you can define it. You can either define it, you see a stone on the road, you can define it as either a stumbling block or a stepping stone. Still the same problem, still the same challenge, two different definitions. And it's that definition that will decide how you respond to it. Right now, I just talked about the whole process of translating this thing to become something you can use. Now, somebody already saw it and like, wow, something like that. Somebody like, do you know how long it will take? Do you know how long? Do you think I have the time? The same thing, two different definitions. The difference, naming. So, you need to really learn how to ascribe names to your challenges. You need to really learn how to ascribe proper names to what you're going through. Because if you don't ascribe the right name to it, you will struggle through that process. If you don't ascribe the right name to it, you will not be able to get the results you want. Whether it's a challenge, in fact it could even be an illness. Rather than ascribing negative names to it. Now this is not just about saying it's not just about confessing positivity now. I'm talking about how your definitions will shape your response. I'm talking about how if you name something in a particular way, that naming will decide how you respond to it. I already mentioned how God integrated naming into His creation, highlighting its importance. We, as people, that experience things, if we don't define them correctly, then we won't respond to it correctly. If we misname them, we will misinterpret them. If we misinterpret them, then we will misrespond. Rather than just call it failure. Yes, when it comes to what you call it now, to the workplace, and you don't do your responsibility, of course, as Dean said, you give it the actual name, you go straight and just say you failed. But in your own personal attempts to become better, rather than telling yourself you are failing, or you are a failure, why not say that you are being formed? Why not say that you are being formed? Rather than saying that you are experiencing delay, probably you are not where you think you should have been. Rather than call it delay, why not call it development? Rather than call it confusion, why not call it unstructured potential? I said formlessness means lack of structure, means lack of definition. There is no boundaries. Formlessness, you could say formlessness as a form of, a kind of lack of structure that can encourage, what do you call it now? Just imagine a building that doesn't have a structure. I mean, there's nothing can be contained in it. So if you look at it from that point, you can see it as something bad. But you can also look at lack of structure as an opportunity for you to explore all the options without anything to limit you. You could look at lack of structure rather than just there is no structure. No. You look at it as an opportunity for you to explore all the ideas you have in your mind without any boundaries limiting you. Rather than see content or lack of content, emptiness, as a problem. Oh, I don't have this, I don't have the resources. No. See it as an opportunity for other people or for other things to feel what is empty. When you see darkness, you are doing so many great things. You are doing so many amazing things, and nobody knows about it. You are not viral online. Rather than seeing that place of obscurity as a limiting factor, why not see it as an opportunity for you to do so many things without anybody criticizing you? Explore the options without anybody telling you you are not doing well. Why not see it that way? Defining your circumstances, naming it appropriately. Call it a problem and you will resist it. But call it a process and you will grow through it. Call it a burden and you would be suppressed under the load. But call it a responsibility and then you will rise to it. Naming is an integral part of creation, an integral part of your creativity. You name your life through your words, through your thoughts, through your interpretation. And a very, very, very simple truth is that if you don't define your life appropriately, then Nigeria will define it for you. The world will define it for you. Society will define it for you. And you have no choice but to accept it. In fact, you won't even know when you accept it. It will just happen. Your past experiences will define you if you are not deliberate about it. Now note this. Once the name of a thing changes, the experience changes. So this is just a simple solution to probably a problem you are going through. Now rather than seeing it as a problem ourselves, see it as a process. So just change the name you ascribe to it. And then your approach to it will change. So the question is, what have you been calling your life? What have you been calling your season? What have you been calling yourself? Naming defines your reality. Now I'll go to the next aspect, which is structure itself. Now I've been mentioning structure. And I told you that, based on my own little research about business, at least I know that for sustainability to happen in businesses, they need a good system and a good structure. But aside just business, your own life. Really. Look at that short example I gave you. Without structure, it will be very difficult to get to where you want to get to. And I want to bring structure into the line of discipline now. Now, we're talking about becoming, right? Now, in the process of becoming, you are translating from a seed to a tree. First of all, I talked about your identity. Secondly, I talked about naming your circumstances, right? Now, you want to translate to becoming that actual person. That process that you go through from the place of identity and naming into the actual person you want to become, you need to go through a journey. And that journey is a place of discipline, a place of structure. The gap between who you are and who you are becoming is discipline. The bridge between who you are and who you are becoming is discipline. And when I mean discipline, I'm not talking about obsessions. I'm not talking about temporary sparks of actions. No. I'm talking about consistent, simple actions that will definitely take you to your goal. That's structure. Discipline is separation. It takes discipline to separate yourself from some things. Now, I just talked about the fact that after getting the audio, transcribing it, and doing everything, now you've done the process, you have a result. Now you have other speeches. There's an innate tendency to just go through that same process again of creating the whole videos yourself, doing the same transcription yourself, doing everything yourself again, and you do it for the first, for the second, for the third, for the fourth, for the fifth video, and you keep doing it like that. I dare tell you that is lack of discipline. Because why are you always involving yourself? Why can't you give room? Because I said already that your actual role is not the repeated processes that can be automated, either by technology or by outsourcing it. No. Your actual role is in the creativity. Your actual role is in the thought process. So why not spend more time on it? That's what big companies are doing right now. They are automating repeatable processes and actually spending more time thinking. Programmers have moved from just the regular coding, because one of the things in coding is that practically they are going to do there are already systems, or let's say codes that are laid down. Like you want to get this is the code for it. Like you don't need to think about it, that is the code. So rather than you want to create like 10 applications, rather than writing 10 different codes by yourself, no, automate that process. Rather than spending time on it, spend time on building better products. Spend time on that thinking. You see, the most challenging aspect of coding or of developing a program is actually not the code writing. No. The actual difficult aspect is in designing the process in your mind from initiation to completion. That's where the work is. And that's what AI can't replace. You can code, anybody can code, anybody. But a true professional knows how to conceive ideas, knows how to design those ideas, knows how to bring those ideas to life. And of course, he will not bore himself with the repeated processes that is already made possible by technology, but to focus rather on the things that will produce. And that's discipline. Because we are very tempted many times to do the same thing. We've already done it once, so we could do it already. So it's not going to be difficult. Once you've done something once, by the time you do it the second time, it's not difficult anymore. So there's that temptation to stay like that and to keep doing those repeated processes. No, that's lack of discipline. That's failure to embrace structure, failure to embrace systems. Now see, I talked about, because now I'm taking reference from the book of beginnings, Genesis chapter 1. And if you look at the creation, you discover that God only created a few things, really, directly. Created lights, separated the light from darkness, created the firmament. When it was time to create the animals, the fishes and the birds, you will never see a part in the Bible that says, and God created, check it. You will not see, and God created the birds. No. Rather what you see is, and God said to the seas, bring forth. Now, you see this primary role of creation that we all ascribe, God is creator, God is creator, God is creator. Now, God by himself delegates that supreme authority to environmental conditions, like seas, like land. He delegates that responsibility to them. And so you find that seas were bringing forth. Of course, yes, we know it's by divine command and all. But you see that seas, we are actually bringing forth these things. And so you see the birds, the birds and the fishes being brought forth by the seas. Now, if God himself who delegates his own primary responsibility, his role in creation, in bringing forth things, he could delegate it to things like seas, then why are you not delegating that aspect? I mean, you're in business, and yes, you are the best at that thing. And as I said, you are very tempted to keep doing the same repeatable processes. Why not delegate it? Must you always be there? No, I was asking everyone, I said, do you know the work, I mean, currently, very, very, very big corporations like, Amazon and Co. and Tesla. What work does Elon Musk do? Does he do the engineering? Yes, he's a very good programmer, but does he program? Does he write code? No. So, the place of, and this is not just about businesses, because I'm talking about life generally. There are some aspects of your own personal development that you should not be doing anymore. Rather, delegate it, outsource it, and spend more time on things that actually develop you. Now, I'm talking about discipline. This takes discipline. Structure takes discipline. Building systems takes discipline. And of course, it takes time. Now, you don't grow because you want to. You grow because you are structured to. I already said, you don't motivate a seed to grow. You don't motivate a seed to become a tree. No matter the amount of words you speak to a seed, if that seed is not planted, then no result is generated. However, if you structure it appropriately, then growth is inevitable. You don't rise to the level of your desires. You fall to the level of your structure. Without discipline, your identity remains an idea. I am a doctor, I am a doctor, I am a doctor. You don't go through the structure of that medical school process, internship, and practicing. Of course, it's all an idea. But with discipline, that identity you have becomes a reality. Discipline builds containers. Structure is a container in whatsoever aspects. Have a structure, and then contents will never leave you. Discipline protects your becoming. Now, becoming is a process. That's the whole topic we are talking about, becoming. It's a whole process. But what protects you through that process is discipline. Now, note this. If you want to get to the level, you want to get to the level that you want to get to, you don't get there by just focusing on the results, but by structuring yourself for it. If you get results without structure, you will lose them. If you grow without discipline, you will collapse under pressure. If you achieve without a system, you will not be able to sustain that success. And that's why you see, if you just watch it, you have the very, very common things we've seen online, whereby somebody is picked from the streets and sponsored to go outside the country, given a huge sum of money to start a business just because he went viral. And then after a few months and a few years, that's why the person is back to square one. Why? The person doesn't have a structure. It's just somebody says, if you want to blow, of course you explode, you scatter. Said if you blow up, if you jump up, you will come down. But if you grow up, you will stay up. And that's structure. If you don't take your time to build structure, the success you think you are achieving, you will just. That's why my friend was telling me. He says that the current, people that press keyboard or press laptop, how do they put it? People we call Yahoo boys. They're already getting wiser. So when they get the money, rather than squandering it the way they were doing before, now they employ accountants. They start building structures to preserve that wealth. You say, wow. Yes. And you think they will lose it? No matter how much you pray. That's the truth. Yes. Structure. You define what you are. You name your reality. But discipline is what makes it real. So the question is not, am I motivated? Oh, I don't feel motivated today. Of course, you can't feel motivated all the time. No. But the question is, am I structured? See, if you are structured, you structure your life in such a way that you have no choice but to do it. See, one beautiful thing about the medical profession is that sometimes you see patients you don't want to see. You listen to problems you don't want to listen to. You are feeling down, but your patient needs attention. You have no choice but to pray. You have no choice but to smile. A patient comes to you. All he needs is a mental health, or let's just say more like, rather than prescribing drugs, all he just needs is a form of kind of psychotherapy. But probably you're also going through your own problems. You don't start mentioning your problems to the patient. No. Why? Because there's a structure. Because if we don't practice according to that structure, then our lessons are at stake. So that structure prevents us from doing things we can't do, and from doing things we just want to do. No. So it's not about emotions. It's not about I feel like it. I don't know. Once you build good structure, emotions don't have a role. You will feed the emotions, but they won't be able to influence your life, and those results will be gotten. So you don't become just by desire. You become by properly designing structures. So I'm rounding up now. Doing is external. Becoming is internal. And if you don't have that internal process working, whatever external process you are doing becomes irrelevant. Doing is efforts. Becoming is transformation. Doing focuses on action. Becoming already, as I said, focuses on identity. And that identity, translated through structure, makes you the person you want to be. Results are not something that you chase. No. They are things that you reflect by the kind of person you are. And if your life is not constantly reflecting something, that's not about it. Your life is actually constantly reflecting something. The question is what is it reflecting? Your habits reflect your structure. I said once, people that speak here, at some point you can almost tell what they do on a regular basis. Because they just let it out. At some point you can almost tell the kind of life they live. You can just tell. You can even tell the movies they watch because they will mention it. That's it. So when you look at your results, what you are seeing is either evidence of a good structure in place, evidence of no structure in place. Chasing results is dangerous. It distracts you from the real work, which is the work of becoming. If you focus on becoming, growth becomes natural. Your results will become consistent. Your impacts will become inevitable. You don't attract what you want. You produce what you are. Now the question for you is, what must I become for these results to be natural? Sometimes we achieve something, we just achieve them, we're like, oh, we got the result, wow. Rather than saying, oh, what did we do? What did I do? No, how did I do it? What structures did I put in place, probably by accident? Because you probably could do the same thing and not even get the same result. You probably have even been doing the same thing in time past, and yet you're not getting those results. So who must I become for these results to be natural, for them to be consistent? That's the question for you today. Become the truth in everything. Thank you very much for listening. With that, I pass on the mic to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a privilege to be here to continue from where my amazing speaker and our doctor in the house has stopped. My name is Faith Sampson, and I would greatly want us to appreciate the doctor for that amazing speech. Thank you so much for making us understand the importance of having a system in place if we truly want to see growth in any area. I know we've all learned one or two things from what he has said. That essentially, if we want to grow in any area, if we want to make things work in across board industry, aside even the medical field, discipline on one hand, and a systematic way to see that what we want to achieve is being organized by time, by space, by rationales are actually put in place. So for today, I'm just going to be taking over this, and I'm going to be talking about something very focal, something I have seen happen over and over again over the years. Of course, I'm in the early stage of my career, but has helped or have significantly been one of the most important things that I've learned over time, and it is service. So today I'll be speaking on service as a value system for personal and of course national building. Since Nigeria is speaking to the world, and today I'm of course a Nigerian as well. So I'm going to be essentially speaking on service as a value system for personal and national development. How many of us went for service after the university? The national service. One, you're currently serving. Everyone in the room, I presume. Everyone, right? Yeah, so we're good. So did we bother to ask why service after the university, after the education in university? Or it was just something they told us? Or something that we just stumbled across and then we decided to work towards it, because if you don't serve, you probably might not get a job, or you can get a job, you can work, but if you want to work in a public service like myself, you will not be granted that opportunity. So most of us were pushed to just do service because it was an obligation, and not that it was a identity. It was not preached to us as, or it was not spoken to us as an identity. Rather, we knew it as something we had to do because, of course, it was a demand that was put on us. But alas, one of my most beautiful experience schooling or over the years has been my service here, and I actually served in Gombe, and oh my God, I promise you I'm not. I'm actually from the south, I'm from Akwa Ibom. But then, it was so funny that it actually looked like it was the first time when I saw my call-up letter, it was the first time I noticed that Gombe was a state. Of course, I noticed, active notice, not that I have not heard about it. Of course, we did state and capital, Abia, Umaya, and all of that. I recited Gombe as just something, but I didn't know any detail about Gombe State, to be honest. And so even when I saw my call-up letter, I went down there and I was reading state and capital, Abia, Umaya. And then I said Gombe, okay. And the first thing to do, of course, is to check where is Gombe, or just to do a brief rundown of what Gombe is, the culture of the people, and all the details I need to know to be sure I'm safe, because I was in Lagos. And you know, most of our parents will say, don't go. You're going down to the north for what? Like, don't go anywhere because it's not safe. I don't advise you to go. Now, I don't advise you to go. But then it was very significant for me because I decided to go into serve the nation Nigeria in somewhere I had no knowledge about. And so when I checked, the first thing that popped out to me was the jewel in the savannah. And oh, it caught my attention. I was like, jewel in the savannah. And guess what? By the end of my service here, I was called the jewel in the savannah. That was my nickname. Alright, so, and I literally had gone to check up, and I saw the slogan was jewel in the savannah. And I checked a couple of things. Okay, what are they known for? What's the culture here? And all of that. I checked it, and then I saw it was relatively a 50-50 state in terms of religion. Happens to be one of the most, balanced, religious, chaotic states. In that they had like 50% or 60% of its populace as Muslims and 50%, or rather 50% of the populace as Christians as well. So it's a mixed breed. And so that was like, okay, I could actually stay. And so I went to service with the idea that I was just going to stay in camp for only 1 week and then get redeployed back to Lagos. I went there and by staying in the camp, I saw very, very, very funny things. First off, I used the first time ever, I traveled for over 30 hours. Yes, over 30 hours. And I told myself, never again. Never again will I try that. And I had options to actually go by flight, but I said, let me try. Let me try this. At least let me have the adventure. And don't try that. I actually did, and for the almost half of the trip, I could not sleep because my heart was constantly in my mouth, almost throwing up. Like, at some point, I saw the driver was driving and he was dozing. Everybody had slept in the car, but he was dozing. And so I was like, should I hold him? What should I do? It was surely, but I'm driving all of this to say that the service here happened to be one of the most focal points. And I will just be sharing a couple of things that happened in my service here. Some of the things that happened pre-service here, and some of the greatest lessons I've learned post-service here that shaped me for one of the greatest value system people recognize me for, which is service. Most speakers have spoken towards different value system that they uphold. And I think this is very, very dear to my heart. By the way, I went to the University of Benin, and guess what the motto of my university is? Nobody. I'll tell you. It is knowledge for service. Knowledge for service. I didn't take that seriously too until I looked very closely into it. So you see, the systems of education and even the very unruly systems that I've gone through has literally shaped me for service. But I'm somewhat always baffled by an average Nigerian youth, unfortunately, who is, I know the system is quite rigid, the system is very, lack of better word, chaotic, and it doesn't encourage service. But alas, service is something that has gotten me into different rooms I have never thought of, rooms I do not qualify for, rooms that I could have never really thought I would get into those rooms if not for service. And so when I speak to young people or speak to even adults who think the system is not working enough or who constantly complain about the system and the many issues that happen in Nigeria across board, I'm tempted to say, let's stop talking about, it's not just to talk about the problems. what aspect of the problem are you servicing actively, and you have given a pledge to it, to serve irrespective of the conditions or the systems of things. If we want to see any growth in any area, personally, nationally, even in our organizations or even in the industry we find ourselves, either as lawyers or doctors or public speakers or the people who work in the armed forces and any area of life, one of the things I found out, or it's a continuous research, is that every time a person gets into the system with a mindset of service or a mindset to milk the place, you can almost tell, right or right. When you see a policeman on the road and he's constantly asking for stipends, what is his mindset? He's coming to get from the system, right? When you see I don't have any other examples to give, but you can walk into a system or a place, and then, or a public service, for example. Unfortunately, it's called public service, but most people who work in public service do not know what service is all about. So when they come into systems, the first thing they're thinking is, what do I get? And when you get into a space or any arena, and the first thing you're thinking of is, what do I get? There is every tendency to never get or get below what the system can actually give you, because you came with, what can I get? So instead, the right frame of questions to ask every time you get into the system is, how can I serve? And how can I serve stretches you beyond your imagination, but gives you the best profit you can ever imagine. Across board, every system. It's not just fit for one aspect of life. Any area of life, you actually go with the mindset to serve. You would actually see that you will stretch beyond the normal, or you stretch beyond your counterparts, your colleagues, and other people involved. But at the end of it, this morning our dean talked about results. At the end of the results, life, or the principles of life, have a way to shine back and give you an award or give you a recognition for the service or your contributions, whether you are noticed or you are not noticed. So long as you stay consistent on the path. Sometimes it might look very tiring, because on the verge of doing it, nobody is noticing you, nobody's giving you the applaud, nobody is seeing the hard work that is going underneath the water. And some people will say, I want my benefits to actually be given to me quickly and while I'm still alive and all of that. But you see, if we build people who serve, we would actually build a nation that works. If we build people across board, different industries, different parastatals, different institutions, different endeavors of life, we will find out that we would actually build better systems, we will get bigger results, we will get literally more progress than we would ever think of. So back to my service year story. Before going to the service year story, I studied at the University of Benin. I studied marketing and business administration. And just in my 100 level, while giving that as a course, I applied to study accounting. But I was given business administration and marketing, and I thought, marketing. The first thing that came to my mind, market woman. I'm like, no way, I'm not that. But I took it up and I said, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to see the end of this. I'm going to see how I can put input into the system as much as possible. Again, service mindset. not what I can get from the system, but what I can give to the system. And so I was the very first set of marketing students in the University of Benin till date, because it wasn't a course, but during my set it was launched as a course. And so I got into marketing, and I thought I would study accounting, but I was given marketing, and I had to do my best from it. I had begun to read up, aside from classwork, and try to see how to put different ways to make sure that the course that I learned, I'm able to serve people with it. And so the very first thing I picked up was I helped my colleagues. One of my friends started producing a hardcover notes. As I shared the story sometimes before. He started to produce a hardcover notes for the university. And so when I saw he started it and started to sell it, I asked him if I could join him to sell, because I was looking for every opportunity to apply the knowledge I was learning into real life. And so I went ahead to continue to join the team to distribute the notebook. And I distributed, the first day, I tried to speak to some of the stores around to say, okay, how do I get, do you want the hardcover notes? Do you want this? And some of the stores told me no. I got no from most of the stores. And the notebook had the printed University of Benin on it. So it was something I thought it was stellar and everybody would like it. But unfortunately, they did not accept it. So I went back to think of what better way will I sell this to the university or to the stores in the university. And so I gathered a couple of my friends. I sent one person to go to one of the stores to ask for the notebook. I gave a sample to it. Go to the store and ask them that you want to buy this notebook. I sent the next person to go back to the store to say, please, did you have this notebook? I sent the third person again, different people at different times to the store. What I did was I created a demand for the book. And the next time I went to the store to say, Ma, this book that I was selling the last time, do you still need it? She was like, yes. 3 people came yesterday to ask for it. Guess what? The 3 people were my friends. So I created a demand for it, and that was how I sold the first 1,000 copy of that note in a month. Guess what? I learned marketing by doing. And so I realized that, oh, I had gotten one trick. Demand. If people need something, if 1 or 2 or 3 people can say this is a need and you're ready to serve them, then you are sure an entrepreneur at that point. Maybe not a stellar entrepreneur in numbers, but once you're able to solve a problem and you're able to create a demand, not just solve a problem, but create a demand for it, then you can actually, and you can get people to pay for it. You are creating a solution, you are serving people, and people will pay you on the long run. And so that was the first instance. That was the first thing that I actually was paid by my friend, and another person invested into the product, and it became a household name in University of Benin, where every student wanted to have the Uniben hardcover notes. From something that was not acceptable, but I kept making sure that was a system that I used that taught me my first lessons about marketing, which was not learned in class per se, but was learned by serving other people. And so my second experience that was an equalizer for me that made me still hang on to service as a system was in my final year. I had been going to places after I started to sell products and all of that. And so in my final year, I went to a meeting. It was the Young African Leadership meeting. I went to that meeting just to hear, a friend had invited me that a group of young people who were leading Africa and the African ecosystem were meeting in Edo State at the time and asked me, okay, since you like to sell, you like to do all of these things, come along and join. And so I joined. And that day, they asked that they had a national conference in Abuja, and they were looking for first youth who could represent Edo State in Abuja. And to my surprise, I thought it would be a thing everyone would jump into. But I realized that there were only 2 people who said they were willing to represent Edo State in Abuja. And that was my first time there. I knew nothing about it. And I offered to serve, to represent Edo State in Abuja for the conference. I had no money, by the way, to go. I just said, I will go. And so they looked at me, you're just coming for the first time. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I'm like, all that night, as our very popular woman would say. So I had just sticked my neck into it, and at the time I was in my final year, and I went there. I told everyone I needed to tell that I was traveling to Abuja for a conference, and guess what? That was like what we call the final year week, right? So I missed my final year week to attend a conference in Abuja. I went down there. Yes, I went down there. I felt I missed a lot, but in hindsight now, I didn't miss a lot because it made a difference for me forever. So I went to the conference in Abuja, and I had represented Edo State with 2 other people who came around. And for the first time, I sat in a meeting to have dialogues with a lot of young people who were changing the policies or who were working actively on policy making and all of that. And I thought I didn't fit into the room because I couldn't articulate myself properly. I had been doing a couple of leadership stuff, but I felt like that was really high standard for me. I couldn't meet up to it. So every time I would just hide somewhere and they say representative from Edo State, I would just find a way to just sneak behind and just find myself to the stage. When they asked me, I'm like, who sent me? I would have just stayed in my school. And so every time they asked me, who are you and all of that, I'm like, I'm a student was the tag I was using. I'm a student. So because they knew I was a student, so they treated me much more civil, like, oh, where are you going, all of that, and they directed me. But meanwhile in school, based off on service, in my 100 level, I had joined a community just by somebody telling me that there was something called the Google Developers Group in school. And so I joined the community to just look out at what are they doing there. And when I joined the community, what are they doing there? Remember my most the most outstanding value system that I went to school was service. And so I went to the community. I noticed how they did things for once, for twice, and by the 3rd time I was attending the meeting, I offered to volunteer as a volunteer for the community. And so I was by my final year, I was the lead for the Google's Developers Group and the Google Women Tech Maker in Benin City on campus by just helping out. I did not know that would lead me anywhere. I just felt like, they were just doing something. How can I serve? Remember, the question to always ask when you get into any room is not what can I get from the room, is how can I serve? And when you go with how can I serve, you would literally reap more than what do I get? Because the system will naturally open to you, even if you don't want it to be open to you, because you went to the room with the right question. And that's the most important question I want every one of us to imbibe going forward. And I trust that for everyone who is still seated till now, one of the dividing factors amongst the thousands or hundreds and tens of people who have applied to be here in this room or who have been sent a note to be in this room, one of the most important things that has differentiated you is a mindset of service, if you look critically at it. Yes or yes? Absolutely yes. A couple of young adults were sent mails, messages to appear, to speak. You could have been making money on the streets now. You could have been doing something, maybe doing something much, much fruitful. But you said there is a bigger cause. Nigeria is speaking to the world. How can I be part of it? And how can I join my quota to it? But guess what? I promise you at the end of this, you would actually get, some of us are already saying that we could not stand here to speak in the past for up to 20 minutes at a stretch. But currently now, today, one of us, please let's clap our hands for her. She was able to speak for 2 hours, 30 minutes at a stretch. She has spoken more than that. I just tracked what she did today, and it was 2 hours, 31 minutes that she did today. And a couple of us who came here not knowing how to speak, this is the real school, where you are not just told what to do, how to be a public speaker, but you served and then you learnt the system. And anytime you are called upon on a podium to speak, even when you are not prepared, because some of us, we climbed this stage without even being prepared for some of the speeches we make. But when we just get here, because we have done it once, twice, some of us have spoken, an average of us has spoken for more than 5 times. Just because we are here, it becomes very, very easy. At the end of the 20 days, we realize because we served through this period, anytime we'll be called upon to speak on any podium, it would be, by default, you are just going to deliver. And so that's what service does too. Even the least of us. I was reading a story today, a Bible story on David. And then I realized on the latter part from the Holy Book, on the latter part of things, I saw that the same men who were called the weak men of David, much later, because they stayed the course to serve with David, were called the mighty men of David. What changed? They stayed in service. They stayed in service over time, and they were weak people. There were people that did not know their left from their right. So it's okay not to know what to do. But when you get into the next room you are going to get to, and even this room, one of the things you should always bear in mind, please, if you didn't get anything from what I've said, always know that when you get into a room, the first thing to ask is what? How do I serve the community? How do I serve the people? How do I serve the cause? Not what can I get? How do I add a quota to this? Not what can I get? And when you always go from that aspect, at the end of it, the system serves you effortlessly. So back to my story on how I led the community for the Google Developers Group, and then I led the community for the Google's Women Tech Maker, which opened many other doors. And so when I got to Abuja to the conference that I was representing, or I offered to serve, one of the dividing line was that I met a lot of people, and I met a director from the Grow by Google project for Africa. And because I was a community lead, I had taken a course, and they were looking for a regional trainer for the South who would represent the Google's Grow with Google Sub-Saharan Africa's project. And because I had done it and I had met the person, one of the leads in Abuja, who was training, I had told him, please, service, please, can you bring this project to my school? On return, can you come and train the people in my school? Remember, I studied marketing, and marketing is marketing, and digital marketing was not a thing at the time. But I I had told him, come and train the students in my school. And he came down to train the students in my school, my department to be precise. That was one project that stretched me because I had to do a big event. I was like, who sent me? But I had to liaise with the department. Till today, the departments are always grateful. Like anytime I step into the department, everyone respects me like I'm a professor or something. Yes, but because I brought them to my school and they had trained the students. Some of the students who were trained went ahead to, of course, I demanded people do internship in my department, even though I sounded crazy to everyone in the department. But the good thing is everyone had an extra certificate to their name in my department, aside from graduating as BSc Business Administration Core in Marketing. They had an international certification for digital marketing from Google because I stepped out to serve and I had brought in to serve. And so I did that project, and it was my supervisor, who happened to be the current head of department, told me by the time I had left the school, I had left my project, and when I came back, he had said, you have done such an amazing work for the department. You're not able to focus on your project work. What score do I give you for your project? I was baffled. I thought it was a joke because, that was a free check. And so I was like, because I thought I did not do so much. I know when I put a lot of energy to it, and I know when I'm giving average vibe to a course. And so I thought I was not very serious at that point. I was traveling here and there, doing this and that. I told him, sir, if you can give me a B, I'll be happy. And he picked up his pen in front of me. I wrote B. I was like, sorry, please. And he was like, I've written it already. I decided my face, and he wrote B. And so that taught me something. When you serve, demand what you deserve. After you serve, and the world recognizes you, don't shrink. When you are being awarded or rewarded the service that you bring. So I shrink into, I think you can give me a B. If you can give me a B, I'll be happy. And so I saw this that painful 68 that looks like just 2 to 70. It was really painful. But it taught me one of the most important lessons that I later had to. Or I'm still on learning and relearning. That after you serve, when you are asked, what do I? Jump on it! Jump on it at once. Because you put a lot of energy to be there. All this while. And so that was my experience in school. So, and when I went back to school, after graduation, everyone was saying, you come back to another. I'm not reading any book again. But guess what? They gave me the permission, even though I was not fully present, to make sure I do my master's. I was not fully present, but they were making sure all the while I was able to finish up the coursework. And even now, when I'm like, I'm not sure I want to go back to finish it, and all of that, like my final defense and all, because of service, they had retained that space. Anytime you are ready, come and collect your certificates. I'm talking about service as a mindset when you get into a place, because I think we have been unfortunately schooled the other way around to always, when we get into a space, when we get into places where things are not working, instead of us to look out for what do, we are trying to say, oh, it's not working, oh, this is down, that one is not happening. Complaints and complaints and complaints. Complaints without finding a way to make sure that at least if it's just one needle that is moved, it's better off than all of the remaining. And that's actually shaped me every place that I find myself. And so when I was going for service, I had thought that I'll be thrown into a school. I was actually given, I stayed more than 1 week in camp. I was supposed to stay only 1 week and return back because I was redeployed. But I said I'm going to stay back. And so the platoon leader, every time he sees me, he said, "What are you still doing in this camp? Go back to Lagos." And I felt like, I think I like the place. Please let me stay. And so I told everybody, please retrieve, surrender. I'm not going anywhere again. I want to stay in Gombe and serve. And so I stayed in Gombe. And even in camp, some group of trainers came to train in camp. And so when they came to train in camp, they were finding it hard to make the projections and all of that. Guess what? Those were already skills I had learned before, right? And so I helped them to set up the whole projections and all. So throughout camp, I was helping to do that. I didn't know someone, the state's NYC lead, noticed me in camp. I had no idea. Where it showed up was after camp I was posted to a primary school, a secondary school, and I could not teach. I knew that once I want to do something and I don't have the capacity for it, I'll tell you I cannot do it. They asked me to teach economics. I was not very grounded in economics at the time. And so I said I cannot teach economics. So I went back to the NYC secretariat and told that they gave me, and to report with other NYC core members about what happened. And when I got there, I didn't know how to start having the conversation because there was a full queue of people who were thinking of changing their PPA. I had no valid reason to say I cannot teach economics. It's not tenable to change your PPA. Or is that people who served? Is that a tenable reason? But I went there, and when I stood on the queue, I saw the woman called me. The state coordinator, she called me and she said, that girl, that computer girl, come. I was like, computer girl? Like, you remember me? She said, you helped in camp to fix all of those projections and all. Remember, I served. I got into the room and served. Please, come. What brought you here? And I told her, I want to change my PPA, ma. You know how we do it. I don't have PPA. She now said, what did you study again? And I told her, I studied marketing. She said, an oil and gas station just came. Somebody from the oil and gas station just came down. He said it needs somebody who is vibrant and studied marketing to come down. I think that's divine incident. Well, I owe that to God. Because, I mean, that was so spontaneous to have happened that way. But guess what? If I was not serving, that would not happen. That would never have happened. So, she had told me, no. Run to the station and tell them that I sent you there. And so I had gone there and told them, please. They asked me, state coordinator said I should come. And then there were only 2 that were sent there. And so I served in an oil and gas station in the north, very weirdly, where everybody goes to and think nothing is there. Remember, Joel in the savannah. And so I started my journey. I started to talk about it a lot on socials and this Joel in the savannah and trying to project my PPA as well. And at the time, I think Nigeria was turning 60. Yes, that was 2020. I served in COVID, in the midst of COVID, by the way. That was 2020, and so Nigeria was turning 60. I did a very grand project for the gas station where I drafted a plan, a marketing plan, because I was posted to the marketing department, and there were only 2 core members posted there, and then the head of the department. So I had to draft our plan from nowhere. I just graduated to make sure a strategy. That was maybe the first strategy outside of school that I had to plan for an event. And because I had been managing events, those little serving, I had gained the skill to make an event. And so I submitted a plan to make sure that they celebrate grandly. We streamed everybody in Gombe. We spoke to the radio stations, spoke to the people in charge of, the religious leaders, different personnel, to see that Salida Gas was actually celebrating 60 years Nigerians, and then they could actually get 1 kg of gas for free. Everyone who comes to the gas plant. I didn't think it would be a plan that everyone would hop into, or it would be a grand thing that would even be a news in Gombe State per se. But I did it and I submitted it. And so days in, day out, we were trying to put the plans together, all of that. On the day of the celebration, the plant was filled for the first time to the brim. Like, there was no space. 1 kg of gas did more publicity for the oil and gas station than they have ever done before. Just one strategy to make sure you give 1 kg of gas. And that was at the time was the cost. Now I know better. The cost of acquisition of the customers was less than 8,000 naira at the time. But they had that word. They had that word out already for the people to know about the gas station. And so I'm just giving that context of story to say service that took me there. And when I got there as well, I told everyone that I wanted to do a personal CDS. How many of us know what a personal CDS is? That's community service. Yes, community development service, exactly. Thank you so much. So I told everyone I wanted to do a community development service. I wanted to train young people in Gombe State for tech skills. I didn't have so much skills, but I was like, I'm going to just call 1 or 2 people around and use I went to the library, the Gombe State Library, had asked for permission, please can I use your library to do the event? They said yes. I went again, they said no, there's many processes. I went to one other colleague who linked me up to one other person. And so I had the CDS, I wrote to the state coordinator that I wanted to serve the young people, I wanted to teach them digital skills and all of that. I did that, and that project was laudable. I didn't believe my eyes because I was a core member. I got support from my PPA, I got support from my friends, I got support from my church, I got support from a lot of people. And as she said, you'll be so surprised that if you go out of your comfort zone to be able to do something and you're able to pin it down for a long time, people are more willing to support you than you can imagine. If you're able to prove your points, people are willing to support you. Over and over, I've done little pet project. I feel like I cannot ask for money. I've been there where she was like, how can I be asking of money? I don't know how to ask and all of that. But I'll just tell myself, just ask. If they say no, no. If they say yes, yes. Nothing, let me use the Nigerian language, nothing spoils. For the global audience, nothing spoils, nothing spoils. Right? Yeah. Yes, nothing actually spoils if you do it and then it does not work out. So I had done that project, and till today, if I want to go to Gombe State through the NYC to do anything, the state coordinators and all of them, they have it in their record that this copper was an excellent project, was awarded to this copper for actually doing this. But what brought all of these things was what I called service. So in service here, service. And then for service here, I can't count the numbers of opportunity of things that I've done that service has opened me up to. And because of this, I opened an agency, a digital agency, which I'm building, by the way, still on the ground floor. I'm just test running. For the past 1 year, I've been test running, which is called UNICEF Digital Solutions. And so for the past 1 year, I've been trying to, under the cover, I've been building a digital agency to help international brands to do their community service in tech, to reach out to the next generation who will build their projects. So I started by reaching out. I reached out to international. I wrote a lot of mails last year, by the way. I wrote to InterSwitch, I wrote to Ethereum Foundation. I wrote to a lot of international and national organizations. Guess what? I didn't know. I didn't know it would be possible. I didn't know they were willing to. My longest, some of them, I sat on them for like 3 months before some of them even agreed. I mentioned it the last time, especially for the Ethereum Foundation. They were giving at the time $1,000 for projects that would teach the next generation Web3 skills in universities through their secretariat program. And so I just gone to the website, checked it, removed the mail, stalked the Telegram channel, chatted one of the admins, followed on X, followed on LinkedIn, followed and stalked on different aspects to make sure that I get their attention. Got into a meeting, they saw I was Nigerian, I was black, and I was a woman. Guess what that said? And I'm the only one on the team because I didn't know better to bring team members, to create team members from nowhere. So they felt like it was a scam. And so the first 2 months they were like, we're sorry, we're not yet in Africa, we're not yet in Nigeria, we're not yet in this, and all of that. And I was like, okay, no problem. I kept writing to them, I kept sending messages and all of that. And then I realized that at the 3rd month, because of my persistence, the person who was in charge of the secretariat for the Ethereum Foundation University was actually a 100-level student in school. I was baffled. I think I was 20 or 21. And I was baffled that, wow. I had to ask, like, how did he get there? I realized also it was service. He did a course and then they were looking for a student to actually take the course around to teach about Ethereum, the Web3, blockchain and all of that. And so I did a partnership with them. I went to 3 schools in Nigeria. I went to University of Uyo, I went to University of Benin, of course, I don't leave my university out of it. I went to my university and when I did at LASU. And so I had done this. I had gotten a partnership with at the 3rd month, by persistence, I had already gotten them to sign that they were going to teach the young people in the university secretariat and all of that. And so we went ahead, signed it for Quick Teller as well. I got into an event, I stalked, and went to all the interswitch events for that year to make sure that I speak with somebody on the marketing team to say, please, if you have any spare money that you can actually do support for a project for my university to teach them digital skills. And so I have reached out. That one took me exactly 1 year after I had the contact to seal that. But last year alone, we reached out to over 5,000 young people in different universities on that project alone, through the support of different bodies who came, and I thought it would not be possible. Remember, I had not really been doing this. I've been doing this on the local space, but I wanted to just try my legs in the international waters. And people were willing, organizations who I thought were high and were unaccessible and would not be able to look at me, or if they know that I'm probably a girl, I'm much more jewel in Savannah, in Lagos State, or in the north or something, they will not give it to me. But because of persistence and a heart to make sure that a set of people who are coming behind me, who are students, are able to get that same experience, or able to get that learning, or able to get into starting a career in tech. And so I started that. I started a pet project too. Remember, after I came back from the Yali program in Abuja, I started a pet project. It was called Digital Car Project. I was helping women to get started in their tech career. And so for the past 5 years, I've trained over 2,000 women and sent them to different organizations to do internships. From the internships, some of them are even in full-time role currently now. just by being in the community, just pushing. And trust me, it was hard for women to get into sex because there's always this pushback. They're like, I don't have a laptop. I'll go and look for a way. I'll say, go to this place. There's a laptop there. There's one place called American Corner. Go there. You need the Wi-Fi for free. Just learn. And they will go and they will come back, and it was just a funny process. And this year I tried to pivot to She Built Africa, which is a platform, an AI led platform that actually teaches not only teaches but helps us build African-based problems, right? To build African-based solutions for African problems, especially for women and kids. And so I relaunched that in March for the International Women's Day. But all of this started off from a standpoint of service. And even though I had not made all the money, because every money that I actually got was plowed back into making sure that things work out. But I am sure of what, maybe not 100% sure of what the end result is, but because I've tested little things to see that once you're ready to serve here, once you're able to put all your heart into it, and you're able to go forward, it would always yield much more than coming into a room to say, what do I get from that room? And so I'd let that same value system or ideology led me into everything. So if I get into a space and I'm not serving there, I'd rather not be there. I'd rather not let another person take the space than I'll occupy the space and then not serve them. And so one of my favorite quotes by Mahatma Gandhi says, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. One of the best ways to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. People will say, I want to know my purpose. I want to know this. Go out and serve. Don't try to build anything for yourself. Go out and stick your neck deep and serve. By the end of it, you would have already gotten something. You would have gotten the knowledge base. You would have gotten the grit. You would have gotten the access. You would have gotten the resources unknowing to you of what eventually you want to do or what you think you need in the first place. So service is not weakness. The highest form of leadership is in service. And I wish every one of our political leaders or leaders in general understand this. If we understand this as a people in Nigeria, as young people, as older people, people in policy making, people in leadership, the House of Representatives, the leadership, both state, local, if we understand service properly, or we understand the concept of service, then we would milk more in the long run. And not milking does not mean a wrong way per se, but we will get more than what we bargain for if we truly pour ourselves into service of the people, because people are your biggest blessing. Also, people are your biggest problems too, by the way. But if people are your biggest blessings and people are your biggest problems, what is a good thing to learn to do? To manage people, to manage expectations, to manage all that you would actually, all the extremes, and bring it into a middle point to say, how can we serve these people? Or how can these people serve a system? And so service is a value system. It's a value system. Service is not an act, it's an identity we all must carry as a badge of honor. It is not an act, but an identity we should wear. If we wear service as an identity to any place we find ourselves, into any systems, wheresoever, we would have had Nigeria move a whole lot different. We would have had the systems in which we complain about today move a lot different. But alas, we have more people, especially our Sorosoke generation, shouting instead of serving. Shouting on the streets, for help instead of serving in those parastatals where the policies are made, and understanding the intricacies of things, serving enough to be recognized, to be brought up to the position where you can demand what you are asking of. You are on the streets shouting. Well, the street shout is good, maybe peaceful protest, but we heard the other day about the issues of the security and all of that, with the security personnel who came and how many things were damaged. The first forensic center in Nigeria or in Africa was damaged in that protest. The only was damaged in that process. After the damage, was it not created for you? The center or any of the properties that you are pulling down was created for you, not the people you are pulling it down for. Can't you think? The buses that you damaged, the BRT buses, the people that are up there are not using the BRT. It's you that are using the BRT. You damaged it. You have not served the system. You are complaining about the system. You are being part of the problem of the system, but you are there still demanding what you cannot get out of the system. So when we all go into systems, we're thinking about service as the essential factor, as the driving force into any space. It doesn't, as little as I've decided that I'm going to raise products in the tech ecosystem. That's what I've decided to serve at the moment. Tomorrow I might be in the House of Representatives. Tomorrow I can be the governor of my state. Yes. I'm going to state. I'm not wrong going to state. But if they ask me to come, I mean their jewel is ever ready. Their jewel is ever ready to come back to serve. But essentially, I just hope this sinks in, truly. I hope it sinks into every one of us. When we get into spaces, I know some of us understand this on the surface level, even myself on the surface level. But as I speak, I also realize again that there is more and more need for service-centric, to raise service-centric people. Taught as a culture in the university, in primary schools, it should just be normal that a primary school student will see his other mates doing something, and then without much ado, they are able to team up to say, how can we serve this person? What can we help this person? How can we serve I currently do an outreach, an AI tour to primary schools, primary and secondary schools around Lagos State, and I did one for a school in Lekki, Aja Axis. And so some of the girls in the class, after we had finished, I and my team members had finished teaching them. By the way, it's free of charge, service again. Because I have an end goal to do a national competition. There's no national competition for technology for primary and secondary schools, or even universities. And so, in August, I'm stretching myself, putting myself out there to do something I've never done again, to make the first national tech hackathon for primary and secondary schools, because I realized that most of the schools I go to, these kids are really, really, really brilliant. Give them AI solutions, they are building product out of it at the spin of the second. I went to one of the schools in Aja, went to another of the schools, one of the British schools, and then I realized that products I could not even build with the AI solutions that I was teaching them. They were able to build really, really stellar solutions from what I taught them. Some of the solutions are even as grand and as great enough to serve on the national level. Really grand to serve on a national level. And so I just go there with a team of my friends who both teaches them AI, teaches them the basics of computer. I hope to go to more schools. This year we've been able to go to like less than 10 schools, but I hope I'm able to go to more schools. and maybe partner with the Lagos State government if you have the connection for me to actually do that on a state level, and then we can now push it up to a national level much later to get that done. What that would do is I already am writing to, again, organization, banks to say, oh, if you want to get kids accounts and all of that, I'll write to the children, doing the back and front of what will you get with the partnerships and all of that for kids and all. So I'm having to do partnerships to say, okay, how can you help so that we can help the next generation? This is something I'm just focused on. For you, you might not be doing what I'm doing. You might not be in the tech ecosystem. You might be a medical doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a banker, or a teacher. But when you always go with that knowledge of service and think about how you can serve a bigger platform, bigger than yourself, you would always see that platform falling back to you to find a way to help you. So service, again, is not a weakness. We should always ask ourselves, who is better because I exist? Every day, who is better because I'm just breathing? Who is becoming better? That's the whole essence of truly living, if we look at it. Or do we think it's the numbers of cars, houses, money? That's good though. I mean, we need it, right? But if you are currently if you're not currently spent on a course that outlives you, well, we will know you that we'll write your biography and say you lived, like you existed, not lived. They are two different things. You existed is you were there. You stayed 90 years. But we can't really say anything significant about you. But you lived is that everyone around you felt that you passed through that system. That system would always honor the fact that he had you in his place. And if we live like this, most of the syndrome of Japa will be cut down too. I'm tempted to go there. But let's see. I saw a post today about a Nigerian who, I can't remember her first name, funny enough. For whatsoever reason, I remember her surname, Umuna. Maybe because of the Umuna clocky thing. I remember her surname, Umuna. And then she was elected as the only African who is part of the leadership, the student union leadership in Harvard University. I think as the president or vice president, Harvard University. And so what struck me the most about that was that she didn't go there with survival as a mindset. She went there with service as a strong mindset. I don't know her story. I don't know the back end of things. I don't know if she has served in little spaces, which I believe most definitely, before she was elected at that position to be a president or vice president of the student union government of Harvard University. She had served her way to the top of the pyramid. And so for some of us who want to japa, the best way to japa is to japa knowing that I told myself severally, if I'm leaving this country, somebody is calling me to come and serve on the board. Until then, I'm stiff-necked in service. Because it would most likely happen. It will most likely happen. It will most likely happen. So service is a very, 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 very focal point. I can flog it all day. I can flog on the topic all day. But I'm not here to just flog it up. I'm here to also instill it in our subconscious as much as I can. That for the Nigeria and for the Africa, the nation that we see in our mind eyes, even though it looks distorted, even though it looks unarranged, everything is Yada yada. Yada yada in Yoruba is kata kata. Kata kata is yama yama. Yama yama in Yoruba is just anyhow. I translated the translation 3 times to just mean just anyhow. Even though we currently look like a state of nothingness and nothing is happening, and there's a lot of calamity and a lot of issues and problems, if we turn our eyes from the problems and look at it from the lens of service, we might not be able to get it right in the next 1 year, I won't assure. But if we leave it as a culture long enough, we will get to our promised land faster than we think. We get to our promised land faster than we think. I'm a person of faith, and I study the Holy Book a lot. When I started to think about I started to question if Nigeria, anything good can come out of Nigeria. I sat with Exodus and the children of Israel, and how they were supposed to get their deliverance in 40 days, and they used 40 years. 40 days. Remember, we're doing this thing for 20 days, like twice. You're going to have an entire nation delivered in 40 days. But it took 40, I mentioned, I wanted to ask you how many years, if you know. But it took them 40 years to get to the promised land. Something it was already sure for them. It was sure banker for them. I'm sorry, I'm speaking a lot of Nigerian language, lingua, but yes, Nigeria speaks to the world. Sure banker is certain for the global audience, because people will listen to this much later. So, I studied the Holy Book and saw significantly that a journey that was supposed to take them for 40 days took them 40 years to get into, or to get into their promised land. What happened? What happened? One of the things which we are currently still doing now is complaining and murmuring. Complaining and murmuring. And immediately, I'm like, God, you are patient too. I don't slap these people. What manner of rubbish? What manner of rubbish could that be? That I told you I'll lead you out. I have where I'm taking you to. And every day you're giving me constant headache. I'll leave you alone. I'll leave you alone. But we saw that they got there. But how many people got into the promised land? Sir? All of the people who were murmuring never got there. All of them died. They didn't get to the promised land because they murmured. Only 2 people got into the promised land. Who were they? Joshua and Caleb. I have no intention to take you to a Bible school, but it is what it is. We have to just see. They say, what's it called? History tells better stories. History tells better stories, and it can tell you a prototype of a success. It can literally predict success for you. So if history can tell better story, we should always go back to history, because history has huge database that you can bank on more than euphoria of the present situation or the present time. So only Joshua and Caleb got into the promised land. Because what? Was it because they did not see giants? They saw it, right? But what was their report? What was their report? We are well able to overcome. They kept saying that even though they were seeing things that does not matter, the things that it does not follow, the reality on ground and the reality of ground, what they are seeing, and the reality they kept in their hearts of hearts, were two far cries, were two different things. But they kept to what they had in their hearts long enough to see their success, or to see their entry into the promised land. And did they get to the promised land? Of course, we all know this. They did. They did get to the promised land. But the remaining people who thought, nothing good can come out of Nigeria. How old are we? 61. 61? 66 or 67? 66. For a 66 years old man, he's not old enough to take his decision for himself. Oh man! So literally, we would have literally gotten to that point where we can take decisions for ourselves. Oh man! Yeah. But that's the unfortunate thing. But we will say because we are 66, we cannot. There's nothing that good that can come out of us. No way, not me. You can say it, and it's fine. That's your reality. It's fine. When people talk about no, I don't join. I just keep quiet. It's fine. It's your reality. I can't force you to believe what I believe. Of course, we all have choices, free choices to believe what we do. For me, I'm going to make this nation, and I'm going to give the nation what it deserves. And my generation are going to call me and say, thank you very much, because you live and you know everything, right? When we think of service, it leads to legacy. Mahatma Gandhi, different world leaders celebrate today. Mother Teresa. Oh, no way. No way. Let's leave that as part of it. So, for all these people, there was something that the world respected of them. It was not what they amassed, but what they gave. And what they gave became a legacy that even after they had gone, it lived ever before them. Ever after them, by the way. I'm not a movie person. I don't watch so much of movies, but I prefer to read the book of the movie than watch the movie. Sorry, I'm not a nerd. I am. So I prefer to read the book of a movie. But I watched the movie that was very significant, that helped me to understudy how America was built. That is, the men who built America. How many of us have watched it? The men who built America. Oh, please, you should try watch it. You will see the systems of how America was built for the first 100 years. And how a similar set of people who were not we're just normal people living in, did we all think America was always this world power-ish people? It was not always so. But their founding fathers believed in the tenets of what they saw about America far before America became a world leader or a world controller of the power, protocol, and processes of the world. The American leaders, all of them, till today, we still see the American cliché, what's it called? Team for the American nation, in God we trust, right? They had their baseline understanding this. In all the I thought about a few days ago, I think why the dollar is dominating and all of us tend to exchange our currency to dollar till tomorrow is because they have it in their dollar bill. In God we trust. It has nothing to do, maybe.
It was just the way American was structured.
Yeah.
Anglo-Saxons that came from Europe because their infrastructure.
All right.
So when they got to US, people were leaving.
Okay.
We had the natives, they were leaving.
All right.
They came with the trade.
Okay.
They had some concept in mind.
Okay.
So we told them, this
Yeah.
is what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do it.
All
You
right.
understand?
Okay.
So when they said go back to that place, the natives were just welcome them.
All right.
They made treaties among themselves.
Okay.
But what they did was they became very sarcastic in a way that they became very treacherous. Natives would tell them, stay on this side. They would kill them and collect their land and collect it. So
All right.
they were from the lot a story.
Okay.
Which is totally different
From-
the way it is now.
Okay. All
They
right.
were already badass. They were already badass.
I really like history and I like to banter
They will
history.
not project those things, but I will try to send it. You just say the march of the natives.
Yes.
If you read the march of the natives,
Okay.
they were keeping crying because they were being deleted. It's just like the blacks.
All right.
The blacks over there had nothing. Nothing, and they built it up. But the Anglo-Saxons were and they polished everything. And American
All right.
was
Yes. Sorry, sorry to cut you. I had to keep giving a stutter here and there. It's just I would love to have listened to the story fully, but I'll come for a master class. However, so that we do not cut the process, if I don't speak long enough here, the whole thing is off. So that's why I kept keeping that stutter, because there has to be a central point. But I would love to have that conversation. Again, that was just my thoughts. That could it be what they have in their dollar bill is a reason? But I see reasons from his end as well. Do we also see reasons that they were, when they were going to every place, when they were going to every place they were going to, they actually listened. They actually found a way to buy you into their own currency. And so today the world literally revolves around the dollar bill. But I was talking about something significant, which is the how America was built by the people, by what is his name? I'm trying to remember his name now. Rockefeller. How many of us know Rockefeller? Okay. Yeah. Sorry for Akwa Ibom. And yes, that's my state. So yes, he's my brother. So John D. Rockefeller and some other very prominent people built America just by owning or finding a way to industrialize what they found in their local spaces. They found oil in the US. Guess what? We already had oil here. And then they came around the world and found different spaces where there were oil and sent back to America. Right, so John D. Rockefeller and a couple of them, the men who built America, they built America with what they had, but they had so much power to be able to wade the system, own the system, send to a lot of people, find a way to serve the country back, right? The same way Dangote is actually doing. I know some of us will raise our eyebrow with the Dangote thing, if he really is thinking about the Nigerian, an average Nigerian on the long term. But alas, that was how America was built, through these several persons who served and who built businesses that served the nation. So we see essentially here, with all I've said so far, that we still have hope. I know hope is not our dean has said that hope is not a strategy. But alas, we're one step ahead, and we can make the difference in different systems at which we find ourselves. If we always go to a room or go to spaces with the mindset of serving instead of the mindset to get from those systems. So essentially, service is very important. Service is not just an act, but an identity. If we want to grow as a nation, if we want to grow as a people, if we want to grow our income, if we want to grow let's start to think bigger than the spaces we find ourselves at the moment, bigger than the spaces we find ourselves, however small, to think bigger, but start to serve excellently in small rooms. That way, in the long run, we'll be able to get a country whose value systems are gotten right, a people rather whose value system is right, and then we'll have the nation built on a long run. So the greatest power that we can actually amass is not in position but in service. We necessarily don't need to demand for the position, but if we serve long enough, we'll literally be able to change the system of things, and would be able to build a nation that we all admire, and then personally will also grow by service. So again, service should be a value system, should be an identity rather than an act. Again, I'll go back to where I started from while I conclude. That the best question you can ask yourself every time you get into a room is not what I can get from the room, but rather, how can I serve? And when that is a driving factor, realize that you eventually will milk the system, or you would produce value to the system, and then you'll be awarded for bringing value to the system. So with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that service should be a value system that you go into any room with, and then from there you can get rewarded in different schemes. Thank you so much. I'll pass the mic to this beautiful damsel.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Faith, for that wonderful and amazing speech. You know, she was talking about service. And just, listening to her, I remembered that I grew up watching service. Not just people speaking of service. I literally saw service. And I remember that I'm trying to relate our topic to what I'm about to say. Growing up, I saw my dad. I grew up seeing my dad always helping my mom with chores. Not because he was forced to do it, not because he was asked to do it. He just felt his way of helping. I'll see my dad fetch water. I didn't grow up in a house where there are tap water everywhere. We go to the well to fetch water. I see my dad fetch water. My dad will be drawing the water from the well. My mom will carry it. I'm trying to, relate our topic. Don't forget, service. And, just seeing this, it affected the family and also others. You asked me, why did I say this act of service affected others? I remembered a day, because we were living in a house, filled with other tenants, so it wasn't just us in the compound. We had a couple, they were fighting, and the fight, people just wanted to separate them. And when they asked what caused the fight, the woman said, why is it that my husband cannot be like this person? She was referring to my dad. My husband will just sit there. He will not help. He will not do this. He will not do that. And someone act of service is causing fight in another home. That's why I said, this act of service affected another family. For my dad, it became a standard. Service was a standard to him. But for this other person, it was pressure. And that brings me to what I'm about to say for today. Some people we already learned that service, brings about reward. When you serve, it might not come at the moment, but at the end of the day, you will definitely be rewarded. Service bring reward, service bring admiration, and also your acts of service can be model to other people. Just like what I'm saying, the story I just gave about my dad and this other couple. My dad was just doing his thing, but this woman was there admiring what he was doing, and that's why I said service can be model to others. But have you ever wondered, some people in relationships and marriages, they would serve, but at the end of the day, they get hurt. Of course, I grew up watching service being rewarded, but there are some other people that grew up seeing service not being rewarded. They see their mothers, after all she has been through for the family and the husband, just for the husband to leave one day and never come back. Some people grow up seeing service not being rewarded, and that brings me to my topic. Have you ever wondered why people no longer desire marriage? Yes. A lot of single people will tell you, I think I'm fine without marriage. I don't need marriage now. Maybe later I might consider it. Maybe it's just my own perspective, but I think it is rampant these days that single people do no longer desire marriage. It's not AI really. It's not AI, because I've seen a lot of people, maybe women, and in fact I've seen a lot of men. They will tell you they are not ready to be committed, hence they don't want to get married. I've seen a lot of women who will tell you, I'm a career person. I don't think I want to go into a marriage that will shrink me, that will make me lose my identity. So of course it's not AI. I'm talking from fact here, based on what I've seen. That's why I said you might not have seen it, but I have seen different scenarios, different examples where people will say, I don't want to get married. And based on this, I said, why do young people no longer desire marriage? And my first point is shift of identity. Growing up, women see marriage as survivor. They are going into this marriage because they want to survive. They are going into marriage for stability. Back then, you see that women don't really go to work. Once they get married, it's expected that their husband will sponsor them, sponsor the family while they stay at home to just take care of the children. So long ago, women see marriage as survival, as means of stability. But these days, we see many independent women. They don't need marriage. What do they need marriage for? There was a day I was conversing with one auntie. She's older, she's in her late 30s, but she's not married. And it was a group of ladies. They were just talking, and she said something. She's not married. And somebody just said, is it that there's no guy around? Is it that what's going on? Why are you truly not married? Then she said something. She said she saw her grandmother. Her grandmother went into marriage for survival. Her mother into marriage for stability. She does not need marriage. Of course she wants it. Only if that marriage is going to add to her and not take from her. And that is one of the reasons why a few young people do no longer desire marriage. If marriage is not going to add to you, they feel like then it's not worth it. If marriage is going to take from you, they feel maybe it's not worth it. Many people ask, what is marriage? Okay, if I get married now, what is it adding to me? Like, what is my gain? Companionship. Thank you. Emotional support. Thank you. And that will bring me to, when I said that some people's act of service was not rewarded. They were there for their partner. You see some people, they'll say, after everything I've done for him, after everything I've done for her, my emotions gone into this, financial support into this, and at the end of the day, what is my gain? Hurt. And that will bring me to the second point where I say fear of commitment. Many young people out there, they do not want to be committed, hence there's no need for marriage. Because of course, for you to say you want to get married, it means you are ready to be committed into the relationship. But young people these days, they do not want to be committed. You know, the fear of choosing, I'm talking about fear of commitment, the fear of choosing the wrong partner. Probably over the years, they've been in relationships and all they get from the relationship is hurt. They would not want to go into another one. Fear of divorce. A lot of marriages are experiencing divorce right now. So they feel like, okay, what's the point? I get to meet you, we do luxury weddings, and at the end of the day, maybe 1 year, 2 years, divorce. So what's the point of getting married? I was talking to a friend of mine. I saw a Ashwebi in a wardrobe here. And I was like, oh, this clothes is really beautiful. And then she just looked at me. She said, do you know that this Ashwebi that is there, the people that I used to for, they are no longer married. She said the marriage did not even last up to 1 year. It lasted for 6 months and they divorced. Fear of divorce. When you look around and you see the rate of divorce, you'll be like, some people just be like, so I don't think there's a need for this marriage thing. Fear of losing themselves. Some people have gone through a lot of things, a lot. And when you see them, you'll be like, oh no, I don't want my life to be like this person. So they would rather just move away or probably just stay back from getting married. In my area where I grew up, there's this couple, they live just, I think, about 4 houses away from my house. Almost every night, when people are sleeping, it is their noise that will wake you up. Is either the wife is chasing the man with cutlass or something is just happening. They are always quarreling. And do you want to tell me that in that kind of marriage, they are not losing themselves? Of course, they are not happy. I'm sure that their mental health is at stake. So when you look at those type of things, many people will just say, I don't think there's really point getting married if this is what marriage looks like. I'm not here talking about this to condemn marriage. Of course, marriage is sweet. Marriage is beautiful.
Are you married?
Marriage is sweet. I love love.
Our parents love.
Of course, thank you.
Parents love is different. Just that.
I feel like you are talking from, all these things. There's a way that it helps shape a generation. You saying that Gen Z does not want love, they don't want marriage. I feel like it is based off what they've seen so far, which has helped shape their thoughts about marriage.
Too much money.
They are applying movies to reality, and it's totally different.
Yes. There are movies.
Movies, social media.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Fear of losing themselves, so they don't even want to be committed into a relationship. Emotional pain. I was talking about something the other day when I was giving one of my speeches. I gave a scenario. When I was in school, there's this lady. She was in a relationship. Of course, she loves this guy, and maybe she would say the guy loves me. Maybe that is her own definition of love, John. The relationship was toxic. That's just it. The guy will beat the lady, and after every beating, the guy will go get expensive gifts, and the guy will present it to the lady. Oh, I'm so sorry, it's just because you don't listen, I will not do that again. It didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice, it didn't happen thrice, it happened repeatedly. And people will ask her, like, are you dumb? You're in a relationship where somebody is beating you and you're still saying, oh, he loves me, he loves me. You seeing that alone? Somebody said it's the money she loves. Emotional pain. But at the end of the day, she summoned courage to leave the relationship. Do you think that she will be ready to be committed to another relationship based off her past experience? Of course not. It will take time for her to heal. Even at the end of the day, if she's going to now be committed, it will take time. So I'm talking about fear of commitment. These are the things that makes people to think that, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready to be committed to this. Don't forget, I'm talking about why young people no longer desire marriage.
Because they fall into relationship
Too early. Thank you so much. Wow. Wow.
It's not all of them that fall into relationship. No, that's not true. It's not all of them.
I'd like to give another scenario. Another scenario where a lady, she grew up watching her father and her mother quarrel every time. She grew up seeing her parents fight every time. And then she grew up to say, if this is what marriage looks like, then I don't think I want it. As much as that sounds, it's not rebellion, it is protection. It's a way of protecting herself from what she has seen growing up. And that would just make her say, oh, if this is what marriage looks like, I don't want it. Fear of commitment. She will not be committed to any relationship that comes her way if she did not heal from that experience. Another person grow up, see his father lose everything to divorce. There's a way when you do, court marriage, when you're divorcing, a part of, your assets goes to the woman. He grew up seeing those things. And do you think him growing up, he will want to be committed to a relationship? Sir? A prenup. Oh, okay. Alright. This man I just cited this scenario now, he avoids commitment. And honestly, when we see these things, your background shaping who you are today, it's not a sign of weakness. I'm not trying to say that they are weak because they grew up in that background that has helped shaped their mindset. And that will lead me to what I think is the major reason or the biggest reason why people don't want to get married, and which I think I'll tag as enjoying marriage benefits outside of marriage itself. Lack of what, sir? Cash. Okay. When you start enjoying all the benefits that comes with marriage early enough, before you are even married, you feel like there's no reason for me to get married. And that would be a question of, why should I buy a cow when the milk is free? You are getting all these benefits for free, and then somebody is now asking you. In the case of, okay, let's say there are two people in a relationship, and then the lady already moved into this guy's house. You people are already having sex out of marriage. You are always there to cook for the man.
Love is blind.
You know, you're just there to provide emotional support. You're even helping financially. And then somebody will now wake up one day and say, how far, guy, when are you getting married to this guy? We'll be like, okay, if I get married, what difference does it make? It will be like, okay, what difference does it make? Is it just for the luxury wedding so that people are going to come, you know, buy ashebi, you know, come and eat? What difference is it going to make after the wedding? Because he's already enjoying the benefits that comes with marriage. That's why, you know, my colleague that spoke earlier said you have the choice to believe what you want to believe. You have the choice to believe what you want to believe. If you think that works for you, that's fine. But in my own case, just why? You know, what did he say? Okay, I'm so sorry for that, sir. I'm so sorry for that.
A friend of mine managed a guy. His view is just like this kind of shit.
Oh, wow. All right. I'm not. we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. And you know, I'm talking about when you're enjoying the benefits that comes with marriage. You do not see a reason why you should get married. And that would take me to the past. You know, our grandmothers and others. You know, there was a speaker that was talking about the story of when you get married in Nigeria back then. I don't know if it's just only for the Yoruba people. There is always people waiting for you outside on your wedding night. You know, you have to confirm if your wife is a virgin. And you know, after the, you know, everything, you throw out the white clothes outside so that they can confirm this woman is a virgin. I feel I don't know, maybe there is no way of them confirming if the man is a virgin. I'm talking about enjoying benefits outside of marriage. You know? Alright, I think you all are going to go for master class after my speech. You probably go and meet him. How come for the master class? I'm talking about enjoying benefits. You know, back then, they really ate. They frown at, you know, having sex outside of marriage. If you are a young lady, they frown at, you know, you having to meet a man outside of marriage. And that is what I think triggers most men then to get married. They feel like, oh, this beautiful lady, I feel if I just marry her, I'm going to enjoy this, I'm going to enjoy that. But in this generation, they are already enjoying it. So why should they marry? I'm talking about why young people no longer desire marriage. And that will bring me to my next point. We now have more independent women. Most women are now you know, so big on growth that they see no reason for them to get married. They would rather thrive in their career than getting married to a man who will bring them down. Rise in the rate of independent women. They would rather choose to build their career to that peak before they can consider a man. And to men, it feels like, for them to meet that standard, it feels like a type of pressure to them. Okay.
Because women are, when a woman makes money, they should become
So, of course. So men feel pressured when they see that a woman is already, she has attained this peak. The feel pressured, hence is making them to back out or to step back from marriage. Likewise, women, you build your career so much, you are good, you are okay, you are living in one of the expensive estates in the states. You can afford everything. Oh yes, we have successfully crossed into day 12, and I must say this has happened based on resilience, determination, focus, teamwork, collaboration, and I would like to say, let's celebrate ourselves. Really, we deserve to be celebrated. Yes. And honestly, this is a relationship too, as she said, based off teamwork, based off collaboration. We are able to attain day 12. And seriously, we are getting there. We move boldly, we march on to 480 hours. And that's just a little digression. I'm back to my topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Why young people no longer desire marriage. I'm talking about rise in the rate of independent women. You see some men saying, oh, I don't think I'm comfortable being in a relationship with a woman that earns higher than me, just because they are feeling insecure. And this woman, because there's no man really coming to approach them, or there is no man that is comfortable staying in a relationship with them, because they're already very big, they are independent, so they feel pressured. Hence, no marriage. We are now in a society where women are no longer asking the question of who is going to marry me. Now they are asking the question of who deserves me. Like, they've grown to that point where they can no longer bring themselves down, or probably shrink themselves because they want to fit into another man's vision, or fit into another man's life. Men are really feeling this shift. Some feel pressured, as I said earlier. They feel insecure. They are not even comfortable being around women who earn more than them. There's a story of a man. My mom told me this story actually. She said her friend, this woman was so big on career. She had grown to the point where she no longer needs any man to depend on. She's a typical example of independent woman. She was doing well for herself. Then she decided to get married. I don't know if she probably saw the signs that this man that I'm getting married to would not be comfortable with my level of wealth or level of independence. I don't know. It's a story that I heard. And then a few years into the marriage, the man started feeling insecure. I think that's the word to use. He started saying, oh, why don't you resign